Chapter 1403. How did she manage to keep the origin bead? Ningqing immediately asked. He did not believe that everyone from Bright Light Sect had such integrity. Because Nong Shimu had contributed to Bright Tomorrow, these people would not snatch his daughter's darkness origin bead. Tang Hua knew that Ningqing would ask such a question, as she gave a slight smile and spoke. Do you think that it would be so easy to obtain the title of Nong Shimu's strongest expert? No one could enter the restriction of his cave abode. Even if someone did enter, they wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Ningqing immediately understood. You mean Nong Shirua has a protective treasure left behind by Nong Shimu? Tang Hua nodded. That's right. Back then, Nong Shimu severed a few of his sacred arts and refined them into Nong Shirua's protective sacred arts. Anyone who harbors ill intent towards her will be killed by her protective divine art. At this point, Tang Hua paused for a moment and asked, Do you know Bright Light Sanctuary's robber Di Fei? Ningqing shook his head. Regarding the powerhouses of the Radiant Heavenly Sect, apart from Nong Zimu, who Tang Hua had mentioned, he only knew about Cadiz, the first battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial domain that Ron had mentioned. As for robber Di Fei, he had never heard of him. Seeing that Ningqing had not even heard of Di Fei, Tang Hua believed that Ningqing must have come from the ordinary realm. As such, she once again asked, Do you know Cadiz? Ningqing showed a slight smile. He finally asked someone he had heard of before. I naturally know about Cadiz. He is the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial domain. I've heard of him for a long time. If Ningqing had not even heard of Cadiz, then Tang Hua would really suspect that Ningqing did not belong to this place. After Ningqing finished speaking, she continued. Although Cadiz is the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Imperial domain, his strength ranks among the top even in the sacred domain of the Radiant Heavens. Even he was no match for Di Fei. Only the best treasures in the hands of the top experts could catch the eye of that robber Di Fei. Di Fei, on the other hand, had never failed in bright radiance. Those who are targeted by him, no matter how capable you are, will still die. Ningqing suddenly asked, You mean that Di Fei finally set his eyes on the darkness origin bead, and then went to look for Nong Shirua? Tang Hua nodded. That's right, Di Fei has his eyes on the darkness origin bead. He brought a few people with him to find Nong Shirua and prepare to steal the darkness origin bead. Do you know what happened? Saying that, she did not wait for Ningqing to guess, and took the initiative to say, In the end, none of the people he brought out came out, and he himself escaped with severe injuries, almost dying at the hands of Nong Shirua. Ningqing took in a deep breath. If what Tang Hua said was true, then wasn't Nong Shimu a bit too powerful? The defensive divine art left behind after death was also so powerful? According to Ningqing's guess, since Cadiz could become the premier battle emperor of the Warsong Empire, then his cultivation should at least be at the second step. Since robber Di Fei could defeat Cadiz, his cultivation was definitely at least at step 2. According to this speculation, Nong Shimu was most likely a true third-step expert. What level has Cadiz reached? Ningqing also knew that he also wanted to obtain the darkness origin bead. If Nong Shirua didn't wait for him to speak and immediately attacked him, then he would have to figure out Chu Di Fei's strength first. Cadiz was already at the primordial chaos realm many years ago. I'm afraid he's already at the peak of the primordial chaos realm now. He might even be a Dao integration expert. Tang Hua did not hide anything. Ningqing thought to himself, It seems that before Nong Shimu fell, his strongest strength should not be far off from his full recovery. Brother Ning, you seem to care a lot about the darkness origin bead? Seeing Ningqing not speaking, Tang Hua suddenly asked. Ningqing's heart skipped a beat. He had been too careless just now to ask so many questions. Tang Hua, this woman, was too sensitive and suspicious. Thinking of this, Ningqing showed a faint smile. I naturally want the darkness origin bead, but I'm afraid I won't be able to obtain it. Miss Tang Hua, I'm going to rest, please go ahead. Since Tang Hua knew that he wasn't a guard, and vaguely guessed that he had concealed his strength, Ningqing didn't need to continue pretending to be a guard. He believed that Tang Hua wouldn't suddenly drive him away. Tang Hua just casually said it. After all, with Ningqing's strength, he was still far from being able to covet the darkness origin bead. Brother Ning, I'll tell you the truth. The Radiant Heavenly Sacred Region has a top-notch radiant storehouse, which contains the top-notch artifact crafting and cultivation materials that the Radiant Heavenly Sacred Region has accumulated over the years. This time, when the Radiant Sacred Assembly opens, the Radiant Sacred Lord will allow 10 people who have made great contributions to the Radiant Heavens to choose materials from the Radiant Treasury. As you know, my Radiant Heavens does not have many artifact crafting powerhouses. Moreover, the Radiant Treasury has accumulated many rare treasures over the years. Ningqing directly interrupted Tang Hua's words. Miss Tang Hua, do you mean that you want me to help you choose the materials? Not to mention Tang Hua, even Ningqing felt a bit tempted. This was a universe governed by the laws of darkness and light. Radiant Heaven's Radiant Treasury had accumulated over countless years. How many precious materials would it contain? Maybe it even contained things like the Primal Chaos 5 soil. Even if there was no Primal Chaos 5 soil, wouldn't there definitely be soul-gathering Immortal Lotus? Lu Dongsa had not yet recovered his corporeal body because of the lack of soul-gathering Immortal Lotus. Tang Hua nodded. Yes, but not entirely. My grandfather has made a great contribution to the Radiant Heavens and is one of the candidates. My grandfather loves me and allows me to choose. Ningqing calmed down and spoke with a calm tone. Since it's the Radiant Treasury, why don't you just pick the good ones? Isn't it not much different from knowing the materials? Tang Hua shook her head. It's not like that. Before entering the treasury, there is an inspection round. All the people who are eligible to enter the treasury have to pass the inspection before they are eligible to enter the treasury. As for the inspection topic, it is to identify a variety of materials. So that was the case. Although Ningqing still had some doubts, he did not ask again. Ningqing did not ask, but Tang Hua continued to explain. There are a total of 20 people who are eligible to enter the treasury. Among these 20 people, only 10 people who pass the inspection can really enter the treasury. Among these 10 people, the first can choose 5 materials. The second and third can choose 3 materials. The 4th to 6th can choose 2 materials, while the 7th to 10th can only choose 1 material. Because the powerful artifact crafting masters of the sacred domain have already been selected. I heard that Grandmaster Zhongjing is in the Warsong Imperial Domain, so I specifically came to find Grandmaster Zhongjing. Is that Grandmaster Zhongjing an artifact crafting grandmaster? Ningqing asked casually. Tang Hua replied. Yes, Grandmaster Zhongjing is one of the most famous artifact crafting grandmasters in my Bright Light sect. Unfortunately, his whereabouts are uncertain. I believe that you didn't look for me before to ask me to help you choose the materials, right? Ningqing looked at Tang Hua and asked. He was just a small rogue cultivator. If someone said that Tang Hua would ask him to participate in such an important selection, he would never believe it. Tang Hua spoke the truth. It is indeed so. When I first came to find you, it was mainly because your spiritual consciousness was very hidden. I wanted to figure out your origin. After I came in, I suddenly felt that in just 3 days, your strength seemed to have improved a lot compared to before. I took out the materials to test you, but I didn't expect you to even know Bubai. So, I wanted to ask you for help. Ningqing understood what Tang Hua meant. This woman had not found Grandmaster Zhongjing. Even if she looked for another artifact crafting master, she would still lose. Because she doubted herself, she casually tested him. As I said before, why should I help you? Ningqing had already decided to take action. The Radiant Treasury, to put it bluntly, the things stored in it were equivalent to half of the universe. As long as you can help me enter the top 6, I will agree to let you choose a material from the treasury that belongs to you. If it is after the 6th place, you can also propose a reward. Tang Hua knew that Ningqing was talking about the reward. As for the 6th place and above, there was only 1 material, which she naturally would not give to Ningqing. Ningqing nodded. Okay, it's settled. But if I can get the 1st place, I need 3 materials. No problem. Tang Hua agreed to Ningqing's request without hesitation. It was basically impossible for Ningqing to get the 1st place, because the Radiant Bright Sun also had a top-notch artifact crafting Grand Master. For Tang Hua, Whether Ningcheng got the first place or the second place, she could only get 2 materials. However, the essence was completely different, because the first place could be the first to enter the treasury to choose the materials, while the second place could only be the second to enter the treasury to choose the materials. After Tang Hua and Ningcheng finished the transaction, they left directly. Ningcheng was afraid that Liz would come to harass him again, so he simply hung up the Do Not Disturb cultivation sign. Although the Moran Royal Region was the closest royal region to the Radiant Bright Sun Sacred Domain, it was even closer than some parts of the Sacred Domain. But from the Moran Royal Region to the Sacred Domain, it would take more than 2 years. Ningcheng decided to complete at least the first step of Dao confirming within these 2 years. Just as Ningcheng had guessed, Liz found this place the moment Ningcheng chose to go into seclusion. Ningcheng's room was completely covered with restrictions and a Do Not Disturb warning. Therefore, Liz didn't want to disturb Ningcheng. After all, she had personally said that Ningcheng was now Tang Hua's guard. Because of the large number of people on the flight-type weapon, it was bustling with all kinds of shops. After Ningcheng boarded the ship, he only talked to Tang Hua for a while and never left the room again. No matter how bustling the ship was, he wasn't in the mood to go shopping. 5 months passed by quickly, and Ningcheng finally perfected a part of his cultivation method. His cultivation also directly stepped into the Dao sculpting realm. On this day, Ningcheng was thinking about whether to step into the Dao birth realm immediately or wait until he obtained the darkness origin bead to perfect the mysterious yellow formless before stepping into the Dao birth realm. Suddenly, the room shook violently. Ningcheng stopped cultivating and stood up. At the same time, his spiritual consciousness swept out. Apart from the slight tremors when it took off, the ship remained very stable. There was only one explanation for this kind of violent shaking. That was someone was attacking it. Chapter 1404. Ningcheng initially thought that it was a powerful group of bandits intercepting them, but after talking to Tang Hua, he came to know that there were many bandits in this place. Because of this, some of the powerful people would always bring a few guards with them when they went out. But when Ningcheng swept out with his spiritual consciousness, he realized that this was not an individual group of bandits, but an army of bandits besieging them. Tens of thousands of uniformed fellows had forced the giant ship to stop. Although there were tens of thousands of guards and passengers on the ship, but each of them was fighting separately, and was not a match for this bandit army. As the bandit army closed in on them in the form of a trap and kill array, groups of guards and passengers were killed. Some of the passengers on the ship, seeing that the situation was not good, turned around and began to flee. Although the bandit army was strong, it could not seal off this space. Moreover, this bandit army seemed to have a purpose, allowing the insignificant people to escape. For a time, more and more people escaped. In just a short time, except for a few passengers protected by many guards, who could not escape from the bandit army, most of the people had already escaped. Among the few people targeted by the bandit army, Liz and Tang Hua, as well as the head of the giant ship, were also trapped by the bandits and could not escape. Obviously, these bandits knew that these people were the ones with the most profit. Ningcheng saw that the guards around Tang Hua were getting fewer and fewer, while the strongest among them, Huang Fuxiu, was guarding Liz. He could not help but sigh in his heart. Huang Fuxiu used to be Tang Hua's guard, but now that he had been transferred to Liz, he did not care about Tang Hua's safety. Apart from that, these guards did not escape. The reason why Ningcheng wondered why the guards did not escape was because he did not understand the guard system in this place. Strictly speaking, he was not a guard, because real guards had to register. For example, after he became Liz's guard, he had to go to the Mo Luan Imperial Region, or the Warsong Imperial Domain to register as Liz's guard. Once you became a guard, as long as the person you were protecting died, you would also have to die. Every guard had a mark on their body, so even if you escaped far away, you would still be hunted down and killed. In the entire bright sky, there was such a group of assassins who specialized in hunting down guards. Taking a step back, even if the mark on your body was removed, you could only live incognito. Otherwise, no matter where you went, you would be hunted down and killed. Because Liz had forgotten about Ningcheng, she did not take him to register as a guard. Later, She was in a hurry to go to the sacred domain, and did not do it. Fortunately, Liz C did not do it. If Liz C dared to take Ning Cheng to make a guard imprint, Ning Cheng would never have sat on this ship. He would not hesitate to refuse to take the guard mark and go to the sacred domain alone. To find the sacred domain. Once Ning Cheng refused, there would be a battle. No guard would dare to refuse to make the guard mark. As such, one could imagine that Ning Cheng would definitely go on a killing spree in that battle. Tang Hua, with disheveled hair, saw Ning Cheng coming out with chasing bull and anxiously moved towards Ning Cheng. Cheng of that the more people would to two. Of the people. She that, the more to the people to the people. Seeing that Liz was about to be overwhelmed by the numerous bandits, Ning Cheng could only sigh and walk over. Long Cheng to see he. Cheng did not to that he. Of Tang. Tang of Cheng. Cheng to Hua Tang people and the Tang. Cheng of Cheng time. Of time. The faint light wheels were like the flow of time, taking away all traces of the battle. Swish. In front of the faint time wheel, apart from a faint layer of blood mist, there was only a spacious gap. It felt like a place washed away by a flood, without any obstacles. Ning Cheng was infinitely close to the Dao birth realm. Therefore, facing this army of starry sky cultivators led by only a few Dao sculpting and Dao birth realm cultivators, he could easily fight them. The cultivator army here had not even reached Dao sculpting. Therefore, they relied on the attacks of the trap and kill arrays. Moreover, these trap and kill arrays were always effective against Dao sculpting cultivators like Fu Tanghua. But in front of Ning Cheng, they were full of loopholes. Every time he shot out would hit the weakest point of the trap and kill array. With Ning Cheng's cultivation, dozens of time wheels would open up a wide space in front of him. Of the tens of thousands of bandits, more than 1,000 had fallen under his casual attacks. Apart from Ning Cheng's time wheels being too powerful, Ning Cheng's proficiency in the Dao of array formations was more important. As the powerful aura of time filled the air, everyone felt shocked by Ning Cheng's attacks. The bandit leader finally understood that he had kicked an iron wall this time. This fellow had killed so many of his people with just a few time wheels. If it continued, his bandit army would be completely wiped out. Retreat. In fact, the bandit leader didn't need to speak at all. The bandit army had already started to collapse. The bandits only relied on the array formation. Once the array formation broke, even if Ning Cheng didn't do anything, these bandits wouldn't be able to crush the people on the ship. At most, both sides would suffer. It felt like a dream. The bandit army, which had just faced the threat of death, retreated in a short time, leaving behind only a mess. Tang Hua finally reacted and hurriedly walked up to Ning Cheng and bowed. Many thanks for Brother Ning's help this time. I didn't expect to encounter a bandit army. She truly didn't expect that a bandit army would rarely appear. Most of the time, they only appeared for treasures or accumulated resources. From this, she understood that someone on the ship carried treasures, which the bandit army found out about. Ning Cheng showed a smile. It's nothing. Besides, we're all on the same ship. Many thanks for this friend's help. I'm Deacon Cheng Yong. This friend's cultivation is earth-shattering. Cheng Yong had neglected you before, please. Another man came up to Ning Cheng and thanked him. Ning Cheng stopped him. I told you we're all on the same boat. There's no need to be polite. Ning Cheng knew very well that if it weren't for this bandit army, but a motley crew besieging him, his time wheels wouldn't have such an effect. But because the bandit army's attack array was full of flaws in his eyes, it allowed him to be so relaxed. At this time, several more passengers with many guards came up to thank Ning Cheng. One of them was a fat man wearing a scarlet robe, which caught Ning Cheng's attention. This man was sandwiched in the middle of the crowd and looked inconspicuous. Moreover, under the siege of the bandit army, he also suffered some injuries, along with more than half of his guards. However, Ning Cheng felt that this man looked the most relaxed among the many survivors. If one only looked at his appearance, this fat man had small eyes and slightly crowded facial features. Obviously, he wasn't an open-minded person. It was not normal for a person who wasn't open-minded to look so open-minded. This fellow was most likely the target of these bandits. Maybe he had some treasures on him that the bandits wanted. Ning Cheng, why don't you come to my side? Liz also came over and looked at Ning Cheng with a complicated look in her eyes. She felt extreme regret in her heart for exchanging Ning Cheng for Huang Fuxiu. Huang Fuxiu was a good person, but compared to Ning Cheng, it was like the difference between a chicken and a phoenix. After saying this, Liz looked at Tang Hua. She thought that Tang Hua was the biggest obstacle to letting Ning Cheng come to her side. She was ready to wait for Tang Hua to speak and find a way to make Tang Hua agree. Ning Cheng suddenly frowned. Who did this woman think she was? Tang Hua, on seeing Ning Cheng frown, suddenly spoke up. Sister Liz, I now know that Brother Ning isn't a guard. You hid it from me for a long time and made me suffer a loss. All guards have to register themselves and then put a guard's mark on them. Brother Ning didn't register himself. This was the result of her investigation after she reached a deal with Ning Cheng. When Ning Cheng heard this, he immediately understood. Tang Hua was speaking up for him. Since he hadn't registered himself, he couldn't be considered as a guard. He didn't think that guards would have to register themselves and then put a guard's mark on them. If he knew about such a thing, he would never have registered himself or put a mark on himself. It's nothing, Ning Cheng. We'll soon arrive at the Warsong Imperial Domain. Let's go to the Warsong Imperial Domain to register ourselves. Liz looked at Ning Cheng with a charming look. Ning Cheng was speechless. This woman was crazy. I can go all the way to the sacred domain, but I'm not interested in registering as a guard. Ning Cheng rejected Liz without hesitation. Liz looked at Ning Cheng in surprise. Even if Ning Cheng's spirit technique was very powerful, Ning Cheng's strength was nothing compared to some powerhouses. How could a rogue cultivator from the mortal domain dare to refuse her words? At this moment, another flight-type weapon came over. Everyone immediately became alert. After all, they were almost robbed by the bandit army. But Liz spoke up with joy. Everyone, don't worry. My father sent someone to pick me up. Ning Cheng knew that Liz's true identity was the daughter of Jianggong from the Warsong Imperial Domain. Jianggong was the imperial emperor of the Warsong Imperial Domain. Since he sent someone to pick up Liz, then he should have heard the news of the bandit army. Sure enough, after the flight-type weapon landed, several powerhouses came to Liz's side and respectfully welcomed Liz up. Sister Tang Hua, let's go together. Liz invited Tang Hua, who was standing on the side. Ning Cheng understood Liz's meaning. He was now with Tang Hua. As long as Tang Hua went up, he would definitely go up. However, Ning Cheng didn't plan to go up. Even if Tang Hua went up, he wouldn't go up. The people who came to pick up Liz were all powerhouses. Ning Cheng didn't fear them, but he also wouldn't be stupid enough to sit on their flight-type weapon. Tang Hua showed a slight smile and looked at Ning Cheng before asking, Brother Ning, what do you think? Ning Cheng calmly replied, I won't go up. We can meet in the sacred domain. Ning Cheng was ready to ask Tang Hua for the map to the sacred domain. If Tang Hua didn't give it to him, then he would have to give up on this cooperation and find another way to go to the sacred domain. Tang Hua gave an sound and said to Liz, the bandit army's attack was most likely caused by me. I won't go up. Sister Liz, let's meet in the sacred domain. Chapter 1405. Ning Cheng made it clear that he didn't want to go, but Tang Hua's tone clearly indicated that she wanted to go with Ning Cheng. Liz had no choice but to agree to meet Tang Hua at the sacred domain before leaving with the Warsong Imperial Domain's escort airship. After Liz left, Deacon Cheng Yong quickly came over and invited Ning Cheng and Tang Hua to board. Ning Cheng, however, didn't plan to board the ship. If the fat man really had a top-grade treasure on him, then sitting with this guy on the ship would be equivalent to helping someone else as a guard for free. No, I have my own flight-type weapon. Ning Cheng refused without hesitation. Previously, he only took the ship for safety reasons. But now that Ning Cheng's cultivation had recovered to the Dao sculpting realm, the ship was not only slow, but it also had no safety at all. It might even implicate him. Only a fool would continue to take the ship. Cheng Yong then looked at Tang Hua, who spoke up apologetically. Deacon Cheng, I think I've implicated everyone this time. I have a small radiant treasure chariot on me. I'm afraid that my treasure chariot attracted those bandits. After listening to Tang Hua's words, Cheng Yong remained silent. Radiant treasure chariots were very precious, even small ones. Without a radiant treasure chariot, one couldn't cross the sacred domain river. Without crossing the sacred domain river, one couldn't go to the radiant sacred domain. Only Ningqing guessed that this time, the bandit army most likely had nothing to do with the radiant treasure chariot. Perhaps the radiant treasure chariot was precious, but Ningqing didn't believe that tens of thousands of bandits would mobilize just for a small radiant treasure chariot. In that case, Miss Tanghua will come with me. Ningqing turned around and walked away. He didn't intend to bring out the starry sky wheel here. Senior, please wait a moment. I'm willing to pay several times the fare. I only ask that Senior take me with you. The fat man saw Ningqing turn around and hurriedly followed. After the man came over, the rest of the people looked at Ningqing's side. Obviously, they all knew that Ningqing was the strongest. With Ningqing around, there was no need to fear bandits. Sorry, my flight-type weapon is very small. You're too heavy. My flight-type weapon can't carry you. Ningqing said with a calm voice. The fat man wanted to speak, but Ningqing's eyes turned cold. Do you want me to speak? The obese man on hearing Ningqing's words couldn't help but tremble, before he quickly bowed and spoke. Since it is not convenient for Senior, then this junior will take his leave. Although Ningqing rejected the fat man, no one was willing to come up and be rejected by Ningqing again. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Ningqing, who had just left the giant ship, brought out the starry sky wheel and spoke to Tanghua. Miss Tanghua, please give me a copy of the positional map, so that I can control the flight-type magical weapon in a hurry. Tanghua did not hesitate to take out a positional jade strip and handed it to Ningqing. Elder brother Ning, did you also see that there was a problem with that person? Ningqing knew that the person that Tanghua was talking about was the obese man. And from the meaning of Tanghua's words, it was obvious that she could see that there was something wrong with the obese man. He replied noncommittally, I never bring strangers with me on my flying artifact. Tanghua glanced at the remaining 7 guards behind him, and spoke in an apologetic manner. Elder brother Ning, my guards are all loyal to me. Then come up together. Ningqing nodded. These guards were indeed very loyal to Tanghua. Tanghua had never seen the starry sky wheel before, but when the starry sky wheel activated, her expressions changed a little. She also had a flying magic treasure, and her speed was also faster than the huge ship. However, compared to Ningqing's flight-type weapon, her flight-type weapon felt like garbage. Originally, it was estimated that it would take more than a year to reach the edge of the sacred domain river. But with Ningqing's current speed, it would only take a month at most. However, Tanghua still guessed wrong. In just half a month, the starry sky will reach the edge of the sacred domain river. Although she felt very curious and eager about Ningqing's flight-type weapon, Tanghua still held back from asking Ningqing about it. She felt even more sure that Ningqing's origin was not ordinary. Moreover, the things he did were not something a rogue cultivator from the mortal realm could do. Whether it was the starry sky wheel or Ningqing's sweeping spirit technique that contained the aura of time, both were powerful means that Bright Radiance had never seen before. Standing by the sacred domain river, Ningqing felt a little surprised. He had seen too many strange rivers, the Blood River under the Futility Bridge, the Black River under the Permitha Bridge, the Milky Way in the Void. But he had never seen a river like the Sacred Domain River. Even with his spiritual consciousness, he couldn't sweep to the edge of the Sacred Domain River. The water of the Sacred Domain River looked a little green. But these were not unusual. What was unusual was that the surface of the Sacred Domain River looked as if it had a layer of ice, without even the slightest ripple. Moreover, the wind around it was not small. Logically speaking, the larger the surface of the water, the bigger the waves. However, he had never seen a river without even the slightest ripple, like the Sacred Domain River before. Brother Ning, no weapon can cross the Sacred Domain River, except for the Radiant Treasure Chariot. Seeing Ningqing standing at the edge of the Sacred Domain River, Tanghua walked over and whispered. After that, she brought out her Radiant Treasure Chariot. It was Ningqing's first time seeing the Radiant Treasure Chariot, and it didn't look very big. Ningqing looked inside through the restrictions, and found about 40 to 50 seats inside. No wonder he had heard that the number of spots to enter the radiant sacred domain was limited. This limited should mean that Tang Hua's radiant treasure chariot had a limited number of seats. Is it necessary to ride the radiant treasure chariot to cross the sacred domain river? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness carefully penetrated the sacred domain river to see if there was anything strange about it. Yes, the radiant treasure chariot is made from indeterminate light stones. Indeterminate light stones are extremely rare. Indeterminate light stone? Ning Cheng immediately interrupted Tang Hua's words. At this moment, he was already quite knowledgeable. Do you mean the indeterminate light stones condensed from the indeterminate black water? Tang Hua nodded. That's right. The indeterminate black water is a priceless treasure. It would be even more difficult to find the indeterminate light stones from the indeterminate black water. Ning Cheng agreed with Tang Hua's words. The indeterminate black water was ranked 7th among the innate 10 waters, which showed how rare the indeterminate light stones were. Brother Ning, please get on board. After Tang Hua finished speaking, she reached out and invited Ning Cheng to board the radiant treasure chariot. After Ning Cheng and Chasing Bull boarded the radiant treasure chariot, Tang Hua made a few hand gestures, and the radiant treasure chariot's protective restrictions turned off. The chariot then rushed into the sacred domain river. Seeing that Ning Cheng didn't go to the inner cabin, Tang Hua also came to the front of the radiant treasure chariot and pointed to the calm river outside the radiant treasure chariot's restrictions. Brother Ning, this sacred domain river is very strange. Except for the radiant treasure chariot, any flight-type weapons that pass through it would get sucked into the sacred domain river and disappear. Since ancient times, some powerhouses have gone down to investigate it, but as long as they entered the sacred domain river, none of them could come out. Ning Cheng felt secretly surprised when he heard this. Bright Radiance naturally had many powerhouses, but for so many years, no one could enter the sacred domain river and come out. Just how powerful was this sacred domain river? However, whether his spiritual consciousness penetrated the surface of the sacred domain river, or the bottom of the sacred domain river, he couldn't find any abnormalities. Apart from his spiritual consciousness not being able to reach the bottom of the sacred domain river, everything else seemed normal. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness was just about to grab a clump of the sacred domain river's water to take a look when the originally calm river surface suddenly changed and started tumbling violently. Especially under the radiant treasure chariot, the tumbling turned even more violent. The tumbling waves were still a distance away from the radiant treasure chariot, but the radiant treasure chariot started shaking violently. Tang Hua's expression changed and quickly spoke up. Brother Ning, you can't absorb the river water here. Without Tang Hua's words, Ning Cheng had already retracted his spiritual consciousness and gave up on the idea of absorbing the river water. After a while, the tumbling waves under the radiant treasure chariot slowly disappeared, and the sacred domain river returned to its original calmness. Feeling the waves disappear, Tang Hua spoke up with lingering fear. Brother Ning, this river water must not be touched. Once it is touched, it would be difficult for us to get out of the sacred domain river. Today we were lucky that it did not affect the radiant treasure chariot. Ning Cheng nodded, indicating that he understood. Although he did not take out a clump of the sacred domain river's water, he already had a plan in his heart. Once he fully recovered his strength, he would come back to take a look at the sacred domain river. Ning Cheng guessed that the sacred domain river was not as simple as it looked on the surface. He had only intended to absorb a clump of water, yet the sacred domain river had already turned so violent. Miss Tang Hua, if we go in one direction, how long would it take for us to reach the end of this mainland? Ning Cheng thought that as long as he reached the sacred domain, it would not be a problem for him to restore his cultivation. The key was how to find the cosmic surface, and then leave this place. Tang Hua looked at the sacred domain river under the radiant treasure chariot with some worry before shaking her head and speaking to Ning Cheng. Whether we go from the radiant heaven or the dark heaven, there's no end to this place we're in. The closer to the edge, the more desolate it becomes, and the less essence chi there is. Therefore very few people would go there. The radiant heaven and the dark heaven should be the most suitable places for cultivation. Ning Cheng thought to himself. Sure enough, there is no end. It meant that even if they flew upwards, there would not be an end. This side of the universe really was a continent. With such a large continent, according to theory, the gravity must have been terrifying. However, the gravity here was even lower than that of an average planet. The mysteries of the universe really could not be explained with the knowledge he had learned. The radiant treasure chariot sped along, and after nearly half a year, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept across another vast continent. Ning Cheng felt a more distinct aura of the laws of darkness and light. Ning Cheng understood that this should be the sacred domain. Brother Ning, this is the periphery of the radiant sacred domain. There are still a few years before we enter the radiant treasury. Do you want to enter the radiant sacred domain with me? Or do you want to act alone? After seeing Ning Cheng's power, Tang Hua did not dare to show even half a shred of disrespect in front of Ning Cheng. Many thanks, Miss Tang Hua. Thank you for taking me into the radiant sacred domain. After reaching the sacred domain, I will leave alone. Ning Cheng thanked her with cupped fists. The first thing he would do after arriving at the radiant sacred domain was to find Nong Shirua and see if he could get his hands on the darkness origin bead. If he could get his hands on it, then after a few years, he would have enough time to restore his strength. Chapter 1406. Tang Hua listened to Ning Cheng's words. After taking Ning Cheng to the radiant sacred domain, she left the communication pearl with Ning Cheng and left alone. Although the radiant sacred domain didn't have any cities, nor did it seem to have any defensive arrays on the surface, Ning Cheng could feel the radiant sacred domain's defensive grand array as soon as he came in. It was just that this defensive grand array hadn't been activated yet. Entering the radiant sacred domain, Ning Cheng clearly felt that the heaven and earth essence chi here was much richer than outside, and the laws of heaven and earth here were much clearer. Sweeping out with his divine sense, he found all sorts of caves, markets, merchant houses. The radiant sacred domain didn't have any cities on the surface, but it was no less prosperous than any of the sacred cities in the grand essence realm. Some places where people gathered could even be comparable to the beyond of heaven and earth. Through Tang Hua's introduction and the directional jade strip, Ning Cheng now understood that the radiant sacred domain was just a collective name for all the sacred domains of the radiant heavenly saint. There was also the first sacred region in the radiant sacred region. The first sacred region was the Sacred Lord region. The Sage Lord region was where the radiant bright Saint Lord resided. More than 60% of the radiant sky's strongest experts were gathered here. Not only was this the most prosperous place in the entire luminous heavens, but it was also the place with the densest God spiritual energy for cultivation. At this time, Ning Cheng had already arrived at the sacred master domain. Based on Nong Shirua's location, he found a rest stop near the makeshift market. The inn was very ordinary. It was called Nine Reliance Inn. The only advantage was that it was close to Nong Shirua's residence. Ning Cheng only had one purpose for coming here, and that was to visit Nong Shirua. Back then, Nong Shimu was the #1 expert of the radiant sacred world. Naturally, he lived in the best place in the radiant sacred world. The best place in the holy region was the Holy Lord region. After Nong Shimu's death, Nong Shirua had never left. If Nong Shirua was willing to trade with him, that would be for the best. If not, he was prepared to make a different deal with her. He didn't want the darkness origin bead. All he wanted was for the darkness origin bead to study. Since there were so many cultivation jade strips in the radiant holy domain, Ning Cheng easily bought a bunch of them in major marketplaces and merchant houses. To Ning Cheng's regret, he could not find any introduction to this side of the universe. He couldn't even find a jade slip that introduced this universe, let alone a jade slip that introduced the face of the universe. Not to mention these jade strips, Ning Cheng couldn't even find a few introductory jade strips about the sacred domain river. What he found was similar to what Tang Hua had said. There was nothing special about it, which made Ning Cheng very disappointed. For half a month, Ning Cheng wandered around the makeshift market, and sometimes even went to participate in 1 or 2 auctions, but still found nothing. After more than half a month of searching, Ning Cheng decided not to waste any more time. He wanted to pay a visit to Nong Shirua. If he really couldn't get the origin bead, he planned to use this period of time to refine his cultivation technique. He would first assimilate the laws here and recover his cultivation. As for the 5-colored splitter star square, it was naturally the last place they would go. Nong Shirua didn't live in a bustling place, but it wasn't very remote either. On the outskirts of her residence, there was a wide road. When Ningqing arrived at the entrance of Nong Shirua's immortal cave, he felt completely disappointed. Nong Shirua's immortal cave was completely sealed. The outside of the cave mansion was blocked by a powerful defensive restriction, and even spiritual sense could not penetrate it. Nong Shirua's cave abode not only had the strongest defensive array, it also had a warning to not disturb while she was in seclusion. If he wanted to go in and find Nong Shirua, he would have to force his way through this defensive array. As a cultivator, no one would ignore this warning and force their way into the immortal cave. What's more, this immortal cave was located in the Sacred Lord region. Forcing his way through would only lead to death. Ningqing felt a little lost. He lowered his head and slowly walked past Nong Shirua's immortal cave, thinking about how he could see Nong Shirua. Ningqing didn't walk very fast, but a few cultivators quickly overtook Ningqing and walked to the front. Ningqing didn't care about it. Although there weren't many people walking on this road, there were still some. Just as Ningqing was about to turn around and go back, another figure hurriedly passed by his side. But this time, Ningqing immediately noticed this figure. This person's aura was a little off. Ningqing possessed the mysterious yellow bead and cultivated the good fortune origin cultivation method. As such, he was extremely sensitive to the Tao charm aura of heaven and earth. What's more, he had only come into contact with cultivators from this side of the universe. Ningqing's gaze fell on the person who had just passed by, and he didn't hesitate to put a spiritual sense imprint on this person. It had been more than a year since he came to this side of the universe, so Ningqing was very familiar with the cultivation aura here. The 5 elements aura of this cultivator didn't come from this side of the universe, but from the 5 elements universe. It was just that this person had been here for a long time, and had completely recovered his cultivation. At this moment, his cultivation should be at the late-stage primordial chaos realm. Ningqing still wanted to leave this side of the universe, so he naturally wouldn't let go of this fellow who came from the same universe as him. Ningqing didn't chase after him. Instead, he left a spiritual sense imprint. No matter how far this fellow ran, he would still be able to find him. He didn't care about a late-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. He also didn't touch the restrictions of Nong Shirua's immortal cave, and simply returned to the rest stop. Ningqing hadn't even entered the rest stop when he felt the spiritual sense imprint he had made approaching him. Obviously, the man with the spiritual sense imprint had walked past Nong Shirua's immortal cave and come back. This was definitely a stepping stone. When Ningqing saw this person in the market, he knew that this person must have the same thoughts as him about the darkness origin bead. Ningqing hadn't expected that this fellow would stay in the same rest stop as him, the 9 Reliance rest stop. This made Ningqing less anxious. If this fellow wanted to make a move on Nong Shirua, he would naturally take the opportunity to fish in troubled waters. His strength was still a little weak, so Ningqing decided to raise his strength to the Tao Birth Realm first. Once he reached the Tao Birth Realm, as long as he integrated the Darkness Law, it would be easy for him to deal with a late-stage primordial chaos sacred emperor. 2 days passed quickly. On the 3rd day, Ningqing once again sensed this fellow leave the rest stop. Just as Ningqing had expected, this fellow walked around the entrance of Nong Shirua's immortal cave, and didn't do anything. After a month, Ningqing found out that this fellow was called Zhou Xing and had been staying in the 9 Reliance rest stop for almost 3 months. This fellow was really patient. He had stayed here for almost half a year just to step on others. When the 2nd month passed, Ningqing recovered to the Tao Birth Realm. The first thing Ningqing did when he got up from cultivation was to use his spiritual consciousness to infiltrate Zhou Xing's room and search for his whereabouts. When Ningqing's spiritual consciousness penetrated the defensive restrictions of Zhou Xing's room, he didn't see Zhou Xing. He immediately stood up and left the rest stop in a hurry. He knew that Zhou Xing was definitely ready to make a move. Usually, when Zhou Xing left, his white fox companion beast would be in the companion beast room. This time, however, his companion beast wasn't there. The sky outside was overcast. Although the thick fog didn't hinder spiritual consciousness, Not many people were willing to come out in such weather. Ningqing guessed that Zhou Xing had already chosen the time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so coincidental. He had been in the radiant sacred region for so many days, but he had never seen such overcast weather. Under normal circumstances, the radiant sacred region was sunny, and there might not even be a sun hanging in the sky. After Ningqing walked out of the market square, he realized that it wasn't that no one came out, but that too many people came out. Most people surrounded the cave abode where Nong Shirhua cultivated. Nong Shirhua's cave abode's restriction had already been broken, and there were still several experts guarding it. Could it be that this fellow had already succeeded? That didn't seem possible. Regardless of Nong Shirhua's strength, according to Tang Hua, an ordinary person wouldn't be able to succeed, let alone a late-stage primordial chaos cultivator like Zhou Xing. Ningqing had also seen the restriction on Nong Shirhua's cave abode. Even he couldn't easily break it in a short time. "Friend, what happened?" Ningqing walked up to a cultivator and asked in a low voice. The cultivator glanced at Ningqing and sighed. Alas, treasures really move people's hearts. Senior Nong contributed so much to our radiant sacred region. Yet someone dared to make a move on his daughter. Before the cultivator could finish his sentence, he realized that Ningqing, who had just asked him a question, had already disappeared. Ningqing had already left the Sacred Lord region. The reason why he didn't stay here was that the trace of spiritual consciousness imprint he left behind had already escaped. This guy really succeeded. How could a puny primordial chaos sacred emperor succeed? Although Ningqing was hurrying along, he felt very puzzled in his heart. Ningqing's speed was extremely fast. In just half a day, his spiritual consciousness found Zhou Xing. Zhou Xing didn't suffer any injuries, and was just moving stealthily. When Ningqing saw this guy's movements, he immediately knew that this guy was following someone. He didn't know if Zhou Xing had any high-grade storage artifact, but Ningqing was sure that Zhou Xing didn't have the darkness origin bead. Ningqing hadn't seen the darkness origin bead before, but he knew that if Zhou Xing had it, he would definitely be able to sense it with his sensitivity to origin aura. Unless Zhou Xing had a good fortune treasure of the same grade as the mysterious yellow bead, but Ningqing guessed that it was unlikely. After following for another hour, Ningqing completely understood what was going on. Several black silhouettes appeared in the range of his divine sense, and they hurriedly fled under the gray sky. In the middle of these figures, one of them was holding a thin woman in his hand. Ningqing immediately sensed the aura of the darkness origin aura from the woman. This woman was Nong Shirhua, and the group of figures holding her were the ones who had come to snatch the darkness origin bead. Zhou Xing had acted a step too late and could only follow them. In that instant, Ningqing made a judgment on the matter. Ningqing couldn't help but admire Zhou Xing's courage. The person who had grabbed Nong Shirhua should have an early-stage Dao integration cultivation level. Coupled with the many helpers around, Zhou Xing, who was a late-stage primordial chaos cultivator, had dared to chase after them. However, Ningqing still had some doubts. According to Tang Hua, even if the other party was an early-stage Dao integration cultivator, Nong Shirhua shouldn't have been able to break into her cave abode and capture her. Chapter 1407. Ningqing followed behind. Not only did he not understand why Nong Shirhua had been taken away, but he also admired Zhou Xing's tracking ability. Zhou Xing was just a late-stage primordial chaos expert, yet he had been able to follow Dao integration realm experts all the way here without being discovered. Zhou Xing was different from him. Although he was at the Dao birth realm, his true realm was far higher than these people. Moreover, he cultivated in the origins cultivation method. Although there were some differences between the 5 elemental origins and the origins here, the laws of darkness that Dao Lord Darkness had imparted to him allowed him to completely blend into this space, allowing him to follow behind these people silently. These people were extremely fast, as if they had merged into the fog. Ningqing followed them and gradually moved away from the light sacred region. They seemed to know that they could not make too much noise. As they escaped in the fog, there were very few spatial fluctuations. Ningqing thought that if he had not left a spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing, he would not have been able to find these people through spatial fluctuations. A few hours later, Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept into a huge canyon. According to the spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing, he knew that this group of black-robed men had escaped directly into the canyon. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept in, but his spiritual consciousness could not sweep too far in this canyon. Clearly, this canyon could isolate spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng also understood that these people wanted to use this canyon to avoid being tracked. Ning Cheng did not know what canyon this was at first, but when he entered it, he guessed that this should be the Light Sacred Region's Thunder God Canyon. In this canyon, the aura of the Thunder Attribute Law was particularly rich. There were even some flashes of lightning in the depths of the canyon. Ning Cheng did not expect the Thunder God Canyon to be so close to the Light Sacred Region. Although a few hours' journey was impossible for an ordinary person to reach in a lifetime, for those Dao validation experts, it was really not a road. According to Tang Hua, the Darkness Origin bead had originally been found in the Thunder God Canyon. After traveling in the Thunder God Canyon for nearly half a day, Ning Cheng sighed at the vastness of the Thunder God Canyon. There were countless forks in the canyon. It seemed that after entering each fork, there was only a fork and no end. Ning Cheng frowned a little. He planned to follow them for another hour. If these people continued to escape, he was prepared to speed up and stop them. Not even an hour had passed. In just half an instance's time, the group of black-robed men stopped. Ning Cheng used his spiritual force imprint to scan the black-robed men, including the early-stage Dao integration cultivator holding Nong Shirua. There were a total of 5 people. The early-stage Dao integration cultivator tossed Nong Shirua onto a flat piece of land in the middle of the canyon. The other 4 cultivators surrounded her from all sides. After this group of people stopped, Zhou Xing also quietly hid in a corner of the canyon. If he had not placed a spiritual consciousness imprint on Zhou Xing's body, then he might not have been able to detect Zhou Xing's traces. This fellow's concealment technique was simply too outstanding. Tell me, how can I get the Darkness Origin bead? The early-stage Dao integration man asked mildly as he looked at Nong Shirua, who he had thrown to the ground. Only now did Ning realize that Nong Shirua's Darkness Origin bead had been hidden. It seemed that without Nong Shirua's consent, these people would not be able to obtain it. Nong Shirua stood up and patted the dust off her body. She did not seem to know that no matter what she said, she would die today. Just the 6 of you? To everyone's surprise, Nong Shirua said something completely irrelevant. What did you say? The Dao Integration's Sacred Emperor looked at Nong Shirua in confusion. There were clearly 5 of them. Moreover, Nong Shirua should not be talking about this. She should be talking about how to take out the Darkness Origin bead. Nong Shirua did not say anything else. She turned slightly, and a dark aura that could not be detected by spiritual senses swept out from her body. This dark aura swept through the space in the shortest time possible. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He immediately retracted his spiritual sense. This was the aura of the true darkness law. Even though this powerful darkness Dao rune was not targeted at him, he could still feel an extreme black oppression. The space was completely enveloped by darkness. The 5 experts surrounding Nong Shirua, including the early-stage Dao Integration Sacred Emperor, knew that things were not good. Although the Dao Integration Sacred Emperor was the closest to Nong Shirua, he still had the strength to take out his Dharma treasure. However, he had just taken out his Dharma treasure when he was entangled by indescribable black shadows. Ning Cheng did not use his spiritual sense to observe, but he could clearly sense that these were black shadows condensed from the powerful darkness law. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. Nong Shirua looked like she had just reached the Dao modeling stage, but she was so powerful. To be able to condense the darkness law to this extent, her understanding of the darkness law was no weaker than that of the darkness Dao Lord he had met before. You. The Dao Integration Sacred Emperor had only said one word when the darkness Dao runes entangling him turned into a bloody mist. The shadow lines formed by the darkness law tore the Dao Integration Sacred Emperor apart like spatial dislocation. As for the other 4 primordial chaos cultivators, they did not even make a sound before they were killed by Nong Shirua's darkness law divine ability. Ning Cheng, who was hiding in the dark, thought to himself, this woman is so powerful. The reason why she was abducted by these people was probably intentional. Most likely, The darkness shadow divine ability she condensed was left behind by Nong Shimu to protect her. You've been watching for a long time. Come out. Following Nong Shirua's words, Zhou Xing, who had been hiding in a corner, was dragged out by a shadow line condensed by the darkness law and landed in front of Nong Shirua. Fairy Nong, I accidentally broke into this place. I dare not offend Fairy Nong. Zhou Xing hurriedly cupped his fists. He had just seen Nong Shirua's strength. No matter how powerful he was probably not Nong Shirua's opponent. In fact, he had never intended to use force from the beginning. It was just that his plan had been ruined before it could even begin. This made him feel unlucky. At this time, if he did not know who the sixth person Nong Shirua had mentioned was, he might as well kill himself. Oh, is that so? But I saw you wandering around my cave abode for half a year. What a coincidence. I was kidnapped here, and you're also here. Nong Shirua said sarcastically and raised her hand again. Ningqing knew that Nong Shirua wanted to kill Zhou Xing, so he prepared to take action. Zhou Xing could not die. This person was still useful to him. At this moment, Ningqing suddenly heard a voice. My dear niece's methods are truly powerful. Even after falling victim to Rantong's vicious spiritual incense-stealing technique, nothing happened to you. You even used Rantong's method to leave Bright Heaven. However, you cannot kill this Zhou Xing. He is still useful to me. Ningqing felt surprised. There was someone else behind him. Just like how Zhou Xing did not notice him, he also did not notice the existence of this person. He did not know if this person knew that he was hiding somewhere. According to reason, this person should not have noticed him. After all, he was following Zhou Xing's spiritual consciousness imprint. However, this kind of thing was not absolute. In case the other party knew of his existence, he would have to be more careful. Nong Shirua was also shocked. She immediately stared at a corner of the void. Zhu Huyang, you really never let me go. Haha. If you can fool me, Zhu Huyang, with this little trick of yours, then I would not have the face to ask for your darkness origin bead. With a loud laugh, a man wearing purple robes suddenly appeared in front of Nong Shirua and Zhou Xing. Zhu Huyang, your younger brother Zhu Jin is the Radiant Heaven's sacred lord. How much effort did my father put in for the Radiant Heavens? The reason why my father fell was because he dedicated all his heart and blood to the Radiant Heavens. My father died for the Radiant Heavens, and your Zhu clan is the biggest beneficiary. You're forcing me like this. Are you able to face your own conscience? Nong Shirua's eyes flashed with a trace of despair. Ningqing finally understood. The reason why Nong Shirua did not come out of seclusion was not to guard against others, but to guard against Zhu Huayang, the younger brother of the Radiant Heaven's sacred lord Zhu Jin. The reason why she allowed herself to be captured by that thief Rantong was also intentional. Zhu Huyang spoke up in a calm tone. My dear niece, I don't want your life. I don't even want your protective spiritual technique. I only want two things. First, you give me your darkness origin bead. Second, you hand over your father's remains to me. Ha ha ha. Nong Shirua laughed. Old man, even if I die, I will not let your filthy hands touch my father's remains. Zhu Huyang did not get angry. Instead, he spoke in a soft voice. Dear niece, why bother? You've endured for so many years, and even managed to figure out your own cultivation method. You've even cultivated to the Tao sculpting realm. You're the true genius, and your future would definitely be much better than mine. Now that you can cultivate, the darkness origin bead doesn't have much use for you. Why not give it to me? If you want to do it, then do it. Even if Nong Shimu's daughter died, she would not kneel down and beg for her life with her father's remains. Nong Shirua snapped. Zhu Huyang's face sank. Nong Shirua, do you think that I'm as stupid as Rantong? That I can't find the darkness origin bead? As long as I completely refine you, I can refine the darkness origin bead. Nong Shirua's expression changed slightly, but she did not move. Ningqing secretly praised her. He knew that even if Nong Shirua handed over her father's remains, she would still fall. However, Nong Shirua's temperament made him admire her. From the looks of it, this Zhu Huyang had entered the third step for a long time. Ningqing was very familiar with the third step world creation realm. He had fought against many third step experts, but this Zhu Huyang's third step was not very successful. At best, he was on the same level as Feng Huangmei. Presumably, this fellow knew of his own shortcomings, which was why he wanted the darkness origin bead to improve his world creation realm. Chapter 1408. When Zhu Huiyang saw that Nong Shirua was indifferent, he snorted coldly and a powerful world domain of laws closed in. Creation realm experts had their own realms, even if they were in a false realm. Ning Cheng had fought against many world creation realm powerhouses before. Therefore, the moment Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-realm descended, he knew that Zhu Huiyang wanted to take away Zhou Xing and Nong Shirua. If he was at his peak, he could have killed Zhu Huiyang with a single slap. Ning Cheng was very clear that the difference between his current strength and his peak was just too great. Dealing with Zhou Xing was still possible, but dealing with Zhu Huiyang might be a little dangerous. Therefore, Ning Cheng naturally did not want to let Zhu Huiyang take away the darkness origin bead. Just as Ning Cheng was thinking about how to deal with Zhu Huiyang, Nong Shirua made her move. Her body shook violently on the spot, and an endless dark aura came crashing down from the sky. Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world immediately slowed down. Laws of darkness formed an incomparably oppressive aura that swept towards Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng knew that this was the method Nong Shirua used to deal with that early-stage Dao integration cultivator. However, this method might not work on Zhu Huiyang. Indeed, Zhu Huiyang laughed coldly. Amidst the overwhelming black aura, he took a step forward and grabbed Nong Shirua's head. The dark shadow aura that tore the Dao integration Divine Emperor into several pieces could only reach a distance of 5 feet from Zhu Huiyang before it could advance any further. Even though Zhu Huiyang's palm was slightly slow under the influence of Nong Shirua's laws of darkness sacred art, it did not slow down at all. Although Ning Cheng knew that some of Nong Shirua's spirit techniques had been blocked by Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world boundary, Zhu Huiyang didn't seem to be affected by Nong Shirua's laws of darkness spirit technique at all. This showed that Zhu Huiyang's strength was much higher than his own. Ning Cheng felt somewhat tangled in his heart, whether he should start or not. If he were to make a move, it was very likely that he would be trapped. He dared to confirm that the current him was not Zhu Huiyang's match. But there was a knot in his heart if he didn't act. Not to mention that the darkness origin bead was in Nong Shirua's possession. He admired Nong Shirua's personality. A look of despair appeared on Nong Shirua's face as she watched the palm slowly approach the top of her head. If they were in her immortal cave, she would still have the means to break Zhu Huiyang's hand seal sacred art. But here, without the protection of the array formation, she was really powerless. Unfortunately, she was too impatient. If she had waited a little longer, when her cultivation was a little higher, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. As long as Zhu Huiyang's palm landed on Nong Shirua's head, Nong Shirua would be like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Once the difference in strength reached a certain level, Nong Shirua's sacred art would no longer be able to protect her, and the weakness of her sacred art would immediately be revealed. Ning Cheng took in a deep breath and decided to start. Since he had chosen the path of cultivation, in a situation where he could either fight or escape, he must not leave a shadow in his heart. If he was going to die, then he was going to die. There was no need to be so wishy-washy. Moreover, he might not necessarily be dead. Even if he failed, as long as he could escape long enough to bring out the starry sky wheel, he would still have a chance to survive. PFFF. Ning Cheng hadn't even made a move when Nong Shirua spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Her defensive spirit technique instantly weakened. Nong Shirua sighed. She knew that she had hurt her foundation and could no longer block Zhu Huiyang. Ning Cheng, on seeing Nong Shirua in such a situation, knew that it would be too late if he didn't act now. Therefore, he did not hesitate to bring out the 5-colored star splitter arrow. If he wanted to fight head-on, he definitely wouldn't be a match for Zhu Huiyang. At this moment, he was hiding in the shadows. While Zhu Huiyang and Nong Shirua were in a deadlock, only the 5-colored star splitter arrow posed the biggest threat to him. Zhu Huiyang's barrier gradually closed. Even if Nong Shirua activated her defensive sacred art, she could only wait for death. As for Zhou Xing, he was blankly wrapped by the pseudo-realm and darkness god art. He didn't dare to move at all. At this moment, a terrifying killing intent suddenly rushed into this stalemate. The overwhelming killing intent completely locked down this pseudo-realm. The killing intent that seemed to engulf the entire Thunder God Canyon locked onto Zhu Huiyang. Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-world suddenly stopped, and a trace of fear appeared on his face. He was all too familiar with this kind of killing intent. Back in the Five-Colored Star Splitter public square, the Five-Colored Star Splitter Bao had also emitted this kind of killing intent. The sharpness of this killing intent seemed to be even stronger than the Five-Colored Star Splitter Bao. Who could it be? Who took away the Five-Colored Star Splitter Bao? An aura of death permeated his entire consciousness from the bottom of his heart. At this moment he didn't dare to move. He was afraid that the slightest movement would trigger the killing intent, and he would be torn apart by the Five-Colored Star Splitter Bao's invisible arrow intent. Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow. At the same time, Nong Shirua's heart trembled. She had grabbed the Five-Colored Star Splitter Bao before. Naturally, she was very familiar with the aura coming from it. Because of this, when the killing intent swept over, she immediately knew that it wasn't the Five-Colored Star Splitter Bao, but the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow. Although the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow didn't bind her, she still didn't dare to move. Under this terrifying killing intent, it felt as if she would wake up the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow's killing intent if she moved. Who was this person who followed her all the way here? Did he possess the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow? Moreover, he was helping her out. Even after fusing with the laws of darkness, Ning Cheng's face still turned paler. His Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow couldn't even lock down Zhu Huiyang. Moreover, Zhu Huiyang feared the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow. Otherwise, Zhu Huiyang might have already broken free from this killing intent and killed him. Dao Monarch Darkness, that son of a bitch, Ning Cheng cursed in his heart. If it weren't for Dao Monarch Darkness holding back, it wouldn't have been so difficult for him even if he was only in the Dao Birth realm. His essence blood continued to burn, but the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow's killing intent continued to lock down on him. Ka. A subtle sound emerged, and the Dao charm around Ning Cheng's body turned chaotic. Ning Cheng sighed and shot the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow. With his strength, he couldn't lock down Zhu Huiyang with the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow. This arrow might only injure Zhu Huiyang. The Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow that hadn't been shot was the most terrifying. Once he couldn't control the killing intent and shot it, the threat of the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow would drop to its lowest. Almost at the same time as the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow shot out, Ning Cheng rushed over and pointed out with a finger. It was the law-breaking finger fused with the laws of darkness. Boom. Ka. The Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow directly broke through Zhu Huiyang's pseudo-realm and slammed into Zhu Huiyang's chest. The aura of Dao Charm clashed with the Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow in Zhu Huiyang's chest, and the explosion of the Dao Charm contained some flesh and blood. Poof! The Five-Colored Star Splitter Arrow finally passed through Zhu Huiyang's body and brought out a bloody mist behind him. Zhu Huiyang's Dao Charm aura turned chaotic, but Zhu Huiyang didn't panic. Instead, he felt happy. This arrow wasn't as powerful as he had imagined, nor did it completely destroy his Dao Charm. From this, one could tell that the person who shot this arrow had a huge difference in strength compared to him. Die for me. In a hurry, Zhu Huiyang didn't even have the time to bring out a weapon. Instead, he punched towards Ning Cheng. Boom! Zhu Huiyang's punch and Ning Cheng's law-breaking finger collided, creating a maelstrom of Dao Charm. Zhu Huiyang's punch felt like an exploding sun, bringing with it a horrifying hot aura. However, Ning Cheng's finger directly broke through the temperature of Zhu Huiyang's exploding sun and struck the center. Everything was annihilated by this collision. Ning Cheng was just like a kite with a broken string, as he was directly sent flying out, crashing into a canyon wall. Zhu Huiyang also felt the Dao Charm around his body weaken, and the laws of heaven and earth also weakened at this moment. His pseudo-realm finally shattered with a kacha sound. Zhu Huiyang opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood essence, feeling horrified in his heart. He finally saw Ning Cheng's strength clearly. How could a Dao birth ant be so terrifying? He couldn't let this ant live. He had to kill the other party. Just as Zhu Huiyang was about to step forward and kill Ning Cheng, his body tightened. Laws of darkness surged towards him. At this moment, he felt as if he had fallen into the darkness, without any signs of life. Niece, let's talk. Zhu Huiyang's heart was filled with endless regret. He knew that Nong Shirua, who was close to him, had launched a sneak attack. Nong Shirua naturally wouldn't stop. She was bleeding from all 7 orifices, but she still waved her hand and rolled up a Law of Darkness spirit technique to wrap around Zhu Huiyang. A bloody mist rolled up. The pitiful Zhu Huiyang, an expert from the pseudo-realm, had been turned into a bloody mist by Nong Shirua's darkness spirit technique, after being severely injured by Ningcheng. Even his primordial spirit had been destroyed by the darkness spirit technique. After Nong Shirua killed Zhu Huiyang, she could no longer stand. She also retreated dozens of steps, until she was not far from Ningcheng. Only then did she fall to the side of the canyon. Ha 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 ha. Zhou Xing jumped up from the ground and laughed. I never thought that I would be the only one left. The 5-colored star splitter arrow and the darkness origin bead are all mine, haha. Zhou Xing took a few steps and arrived in front of Ningcheng. He then raised his hand and slapped towards Ningcheng. To him, the biggest threat here wasn't Nong Shirua, who could no longer move, but Ningcheng, who could even kill Zhu Huiyang. Ningcheng's Dao charm was scattered. He had overdrawn himself to kill an expert like Zhu Huiyang. Whether it was the 5-colored star splitter arrow or the law finger, he wouldn't be able to recover in a short period of time. What's more, his primordial spirit was in chaos and he was still unconscious. Zhou Xing wouldn't slowly kill Ningcheng. Only when Ningcheng was dead would he be safe. Poof! Zhou Xing's hand slapped out a bloody mist. He stopped in time and looked at Nong Shirua in shock and anger. Do you want to die? He never expected that Nong Shirua would use her body to block this attack for Ningcheng. He didn't want to kill Nong Shirua right now. Zhu Huiyang might have a way to refine Nong Shirua's darkness origin bead, but he didn't have that ability. You're the one who's going to die. Nong Shirua weakly spat out these 4 words. She then fell onto Ningcheng's body and stopped breathing. Zhou Xing looked down at his chest in disbelief. An extremely terrifying darkness aura swept over him. This darkness aura felt very familiar to him. Then he saw his body shatter into pieces. His primordial spirit also gradually turned blurry and disappeared within these fragments. At this moment, he finally understood why Nong Shirua had taken dozens of steps back to arrive in front of Ningcheng. It turned out that this woman already knew who his target was. That's why she was waiting here to plot against him. This woman was truly terrifying. This canyon, which was filled with a noisy murderous aura, was now completely silent except for the faint smell of blood lingering in the air. Chapter 1409. Ningcheng was the first to wake up. He felt a tightness in his chest and immediately saw Nong Shirua lying unconscious on top of his chest. Nong Shirua was covered in blood and her face was pale. Her originally glossy hair had also turned yellow. As Ningcheng struggled to get up, his gaze swept towards Zhou Xing, who was not far from him. Zhou Xing's death was exactly the same as the early-stage Dao integration cultivator, who had kidnapped Nong Shirua. Clearly, Nong Shirua had killed Zhou Xing. In a short time, Ningcheng deduced the general situation of the matter. After Nong Shirua had killed Zhu Huiyang, she had saved him just as Zhou Xing was about to kill him, risking her life to kill Zhou Xing. After all, Zhou Xing couldn't have killed Nong Shirua before killing him. Now that Zhou Xing had died and Nong Shirua had fainted on top of him, it meant that Zhou Xing had been killed by Nong Shirua while trying to kill him. Ningcheng swallowed a few pills. After his injuries healed a little, he raised his hand and threw out some array flags. After a few breaths, Dao runes condensed and formed a Dao rune image. Sure enough, it was just as he had guessed. After killing Zhu Huiyang, Nong Shirua had deliberately fallen beside him and used the opportunity to kill Zhou Xing. Ningcheng took a deep breath, took out a few pills and put them into Nong Shirua's mouth. He hadn't expected Nong Shirua to be so grateful for saving his life. He had just saved her life, and she had returned the favor. She was a very proud woman who could distinguish between gratitude and grudges. This was the most dangerous move he had ever made. Although he had expected it, the result wasn't that bad. He had only lost a portion of his lifespan and essence blood, but it hadn't affected his Dao heart. Ningcheng put away the array flags and disrupted the Dao rune aura. He raised his hand and threw out a flame to destroy the place. Then he grabbed a few rings and left the place with Nong Shirua in his arms. Ningqing didn't leave Lightning God Canyon. Instead, he opened up a new cave abode far away. After setting up the defense array, Ningqing waited for Nong Shirhua to wake up. Nong Shirhua's injuries had damaged her foundation, and her cultivation was only at the Dao modeling realm. Ningqing had too many Dao pills on him. It would be easy for him to save Nong Shirhua. Ningqing didn't have to wait long. Just over an hour after he finished arranging the defensive array, Nong Shirhua woke up. She sat up in amazement, raised her head and looked around, before her eyes finally fell on Ningqing and spoke. "Many thanks to this friend for saving my life." Nong Shirhua could be considered delicate and pretty. Her lips were neither thin nor thick, giving off a gentle feeling. Although her hair had withered and turned yellow, it added to her fragile beauty. In addition, Ningqing was already very grateful towards Nong Shirhua, which made Nong Shirhua even more pleasing to the eye. Fairy Nong's words are too serious. If not for Fairy Nong's help, I'm afraid that I would have already died at the hands of Zhu Huiyang or Zhou Xing. Speaking of which, Fairy Nong has already saved me twice. Nong Shirhua smiled slightly. "You saved me first. My father has always taught me that if I don't repay kindness, I'm no different from a dog, much less a cultivator." When Ningqing heard these words, he immediately felt deep respect for Nong Shimu. What he respected the most were people who knew how to repay kindness. Since Nong Zimu could teach his daughter this way, he was naturally a person who knew how to repay kindness. "Fairy Nong, my name is Ningqing. From now on, Fairy Nong can just call me by my name," Ningqing said respectfully to Nong Shirhua. Nong Shirhua bowed slightly. "Big brother Ning's cultivation far surpasses mine, so you can just call me Shirhua. I'm not a fairy." Nong Shirhua paused for a moment before continuing. "Since Big Brother Ning passed by my cave for the first time, you must have come for the darkness origin bead, right?" After saying this, Nong Shirhua stared at Ningqing. Although Ningqing had saved her, and she vaguely felt that Ningqing wasn't a thick-skinned person, she couldn't be sure if Ningqing had saved her because of the darkness origin bead. Ningqing's heart skipped a beat, and an awkward expression appeared on his face. Nong Shirhua actually knew that he had been following her. He didn't know why Nong Shirhua had pointed out Zhou Xing's weakness, but not him. "I'm very sorry. It's because I really wanted the darkness origin bead. That's why I wanted to exchange it with you," Ningqing said apologetically. Nong Shirhua showed a faint smile. "It's nothing. In fact, as long as you refine me, you can obtain the darkness origin bead. Who would want someone else to refine them?" Ningqing stood up in embarrassment and said, "I really wanted to exchange with you. If you don't want to, then I naturally wouldn't do such an ungrateful thing. Not to mention that you and I have no enmity, and that you even saved my life. Even if I had enmity with you, I would only take revenge and snatch the origin bead. Refining a person and obtaining the origin bead is not something that I, Ningqing, would do." "Big Brother Ning, please sit down. I was just testing you. I hope Big Brother Ning can forgive me and not mind." Nong Shirhua respectfully bowed towards Ningqing. Ningqing nodded and didn't speak again. He knew that Nong Shirhua's probing wasn't excessive. After all, he and Nong Shirhua had only met for the first time, and they weren't even friends. "Can I ask, Big Brother Ning, why do you want the darkness origin bead?" Seeing that Ningqing didn't have any intention of forcibly snatching it, Nong Shirhua asked. Ningqing pondered over it for a while before speaking. "My cultivation method has something to do with origin. Moreover, I also have a world. If I could obtain the darkness origin bead, then it would be a step closer to perfection." Nong Shirhua nodded on hearing Ningqing's words. "When you arrived at the entrance of my immortal cave, I sensed that you also cultivated an origin cultivation method. Because of this, I planned to talk to you face to face after dealing with that person. I just didn't expect Zhu Huiyang to be so scheming. I suspect that Rantong's actions also had something to do with Zhu Huiyang. No wonder he didn't expose the matter of him following him. It turned out that he sensed that he cultivated an origin cultivation method. You don't have to worry. If I didn't guess wrong, your cultivation should have dropped a lot. Once your cultivation recovers, even if I have the origin bead and cultivate an origin cultivation method, I wouldn't be able to detect it." Nong Shirhua saw that Ningqing remained silent and tried to comfort him. Ningqing didn't want to talk about his origin cultivation method, so he changed the topic. Was Rantong working for someone? Nong Shirhua gave an N sound and spoke with certainty. Rantong definitely worked for someone, and the person behind him wasn't Zhu Huiyang. I suspect that it was Zhu Jin, but I don't have any evidence. Zhu Jin? The sacred master of the radiant sacred domain? Ningqing asked in surprise. Nong Shirhua sighed. He was indeed the sacred master of the radiant sacred domain, and he was my father's best friend. My father died for the radiant sacred domain, but he coveted my darkness origin bead. How do you know that Zhu Jin coveted your darkness origin bead? Ningqing felt puzzled. Nong Shirhua's eyes showed a trace of helplessness. Before my father died, he told me that he suspected Zhu Jin of plotting against him. Unfortunately, he didn't have any way to find the answer. He told me that if Zhu Jin really plotted against him, then I could only stay in the Sacred Master region, and live in the same region as Zhu Jin. Only then would I have a chance to keep my life. Ningqing frowned slightly. If Zhu Jin really was behind this, then they would be in grave danger in the Thunder God Canyon. As if seeing through Ningqing's thoughts, Nong Shirhua spoke up calmly. We are the safest here. It's just like when I lived in the Radiant Sacred Domain's Sacred Master region. As long as I lived there, Zhu Jin wouldn't touch me, or at least, wouldn't dare to touch me. Now that Zhu Huiyang has fallen in the Thunder God Canyon, this is also the safest place. Then what will you do? Ningqing looked at Nong Shirhua. If Nong Shirhua couldn't find a way, then once he found the universe surface of this universe, he could take Nong Shirhua away. Nong Shirhua raised her hand and rubbed her head before speaking in an extremely calm voice. I won't go back to the Sacred Master region. It wasn't easy for me to leave the Sacred Master region, so I've already made my plans. Nong Shirhua didn't say where she planned to go, and Ningqing didn't ask again. You said that you want to use the Darkness Origin Bead to perfect your world. Is your world a top-grade primal chaos world? Nong Shirhua once again brought back Ningqing's previous words. Although the 5 elements primal chaos world also needed something like the origin bead, Ningqing knew that he couldn't hide it from Nong Shirhua. He nodded and didn't speak. The good fortune world was also known as the primal chaos world by some people. Nong Shirhua remained silent for a while before suddenly speaking up. Big brother Ning, if you believe me, then don't continue looking for the origin bead to perfect your world. Don't even try to merge with your world and use it to reach the 3rd step. Why? Ningqing didn't intend to use the mysterious yellow bead to reach the 3rd step, but if he chose to use the origin bead to perfect his world, then why not? Nong Shirhua looked at Ningqing and said in a solemn voice, Big brother Ning, there are countless ways to reach the 3rd step. For example, Zhu Huiyang was also considered to be at the 3rd step. But with Zhu Huiyang's strength, he was like an ant in front of my father. Even Zhu Jin of the Sacred Master region could easily crush Zhu Huiyang. That's because his 3rd step is the ant world, also known as the false world. Ningqing already knew about this, but he didn't expect Nong Shirhua to know about it as well. If Nong Shimu had told Nong Shirhua about this, then Nong Shimu's understanding of the Grand Tao was extremely deep. If such a person died early, then it would be a loss. Nong Shirhua's tone turned even more solemn. Big brother Ning, the true creation world is to use one's own laws to condense one's own world. If I'm not wrong, Big brother Ning, you should have already found the 5 elements origin bead to perfect your world. Moreover, your cultivation method is also closely related to the origin. Ningqing couldn't help but admire Nong Shirhua's insight. He simply admitted it. That's right, it's indeed as you said. Nong Shirhua nodded and continued. My father told me that a true 3rd step powerhouse is able to evolve their own laws, condense their own world origin, and construct their own world. They don't rely on any external origin, nor do they rely on any heavenly treasures. Condense one's own origin. Nong Shirhua's words flashed through Ningqing's spiritual sense like a bolt of lightning. He already vaguely understood this, but it wasn't very deep. He had always thought that he had used the origin of heaven and earth to perfect the mysterious yellow bead, and then used the cultivation method derived from the mysterious yellow bead to reach the 3rd step, which was the strongest 3rd step. But after listening to Nong Shirhua's words, he suddenly understood. The 3rd step he thought was indeed strong, But he still had to rely on the treasures of heaven and earth. Even if he condensed a new world, it wouldn't be his own origin. No wonder Nong Shirwa showed a look of pity. It was because he had already condensed the 5 elements origin bead. Chapter 14:10. Did your father say that if someone like me has fused with another origin, and my cultivation method is also derived from the origin of the world? Is there a way to solve this problem? Ningqing asked. Nong Shirwa shook her head. My father didn't condense his own origin and derive his own law world. He naturally didn't have such a solution. These are all things he suddenly comprehended after obtaining the origin bead, and before he died. Unfortunately, it was already too late. Ningqing suddenly thought of Nianyan. He felt that Nong Shirwa and Nianyan were very similar. Both were extremely intelligent people, and both had a kind of ethereal nature that was hard to describe. Seeing Ningqing remain silent, Nong Shirwa thought that Ningqing was regretting it. After all, not everyone could obtain a primal chaos world. If one obtained a primal chaos world and ended up being bound by it, it would be strange if they didn't regret it. Big brother Ning, you don't have to regret it. In fact, as long as you don't merge your primal chaos world, you are still one of the strongest third-step powerhouses. The universe is vast, and how many people can truly condense their own origin and derive their own world? Nong Shirwa comforted him. Ningqing laughed, and the subtle thoughts between his eyebrows disappeared without a trace. Since you call me big brother, I'll pretend to be older. Sister Shirwa, I Ningqing, will never regret such a thing. Even if I had to do it again, I would still cultivate the same way. Ningqing wasn't speaking nonsense. If he had to do it again, he would still use the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate the mysterious yellow formless. Just think about it, he was a person without any foundation. Even though he had the mysterious yellow formless, he did not use it to cultivate, but instead wanted to use that kind of illusory source derived by himself to cultivate his own cultivation method. Unless he had gone crazy. Nong Shirwa showed a look of approval. Although there was a trace of regret behind it, there was nothing he could do about it. Ningqing completely let go of his unwillingness. He didn't believe that he didn't have a path that belonged to him. The reason he couldn't find it wasn't that there wasn't such a path, but that his realm was limited and he couldn't find it. Big brother Ning, the darkness origin bead is the most precious thing my father left to me. My father exchanged his life for it. I can't exchange it with you. Even if you use your primal chaos world to exchange for it, I can't. Those are the memories of my loved ones. Nong Shirwa spoke to Ningqing in a serious tone after Ningqing calmed down. Although Ningqing felt some regret in his heart, but he was not disappointed, and still spoke with respect. I understand your thoughts. If it were me, then perhaps I would not be able to exchange it. I can't give the darkness origin bead to you, but I can lend it to you to comprehend. I've seen your darkness nomological divine ability, and it's missing a quintessential Dao rune. After you comprehend the darkness origin bead, you'll gain something. Nong Shirwa's words made Ningqing feel overjoyed. In fact, at this moment he no longer cared about obtaining the darkness origin bead. Now that Nong Shirwa was willing to lend him the darkness origin bead, it would be of great help to him. Ningqing knew that condensing his own origin would be the most powerful world. Even if he reached the full circle of Dao integration, he wouldn't be able to understand how to condense his own origin to derive a world. Now, with the help of the darkness origin bead, he could perfect his darkness-type laws and increase his strength. After Nong Shirwa finished speaking, she raised her hand and grabbed a fist-sized black bead. When Ningqing saw this bead, he felt as if he was looking at a pitch-black world. As long as his eyes and spiritual consciousness came into contact with this bead, the darkness within the bead would devour them and disappear. Ningqing secretly marveled in his heart. This darkness origin bead's origin aura was even better than the 5 elements origin bead he had obtained before. No wonder even Bright Radiant's sacred lord Jujin coveted this bead. Fortunately, Dao Monarch Darkness hadn't obtained this bead. If Dao Monarch Darkness had obtained this bead, then even Xing would have feared him. When Ningqing took the darkness origin bead, he immediately felt a pitch-black Dao rune vortex wrap around him and drag him into an abyss. Darkness origin aura lingered around him, and all the darkness-type laws became extremely clear. Ningqing quickly wrapped the darkness origin bead in a restriction, and thanked Nong Shirua with some excitement. Nong Shirua smiled slightly. If you hadn't saved me, this darkness origin bead would have been snatched away. If it weren't for the fact that this darkness origin bead belonged to my father, I would have given it to you. It was a simple sentence, but it showed Nong Shirua's great spirit. Ningqing quickly said, "It's already a huge favor for me to borrow the darkness origin bead. I don't dare to ask for this origin bead again." Nong Shirua said with a straight face, "I can't give you the darkness origin bead, but I still want to repay you for saving my life." When Ningqing heard this, he immediately felt ashamed. He had saved Nong Shirua once, and Nong Shirua had saved him twice. She even lent him the darkness origin bead, and said that she wanted to repay him for saving her life. Wasn't this a slap in the face? Just as Ningqing was about to refuse, Nong Shirua raised her hand and stopped Ningqing. "Big brother Ning, I couldn't cultivate before. After my father died, I stayed at home to derive my own cultivation method. That's why I don't have many friends, not to mention a life-saving friend like Big Brother Ning." Ningqing's heart suddenly moved. Only then did he realize that Nong Shirua's cultivation method was derived by him. How much talent and perseverance did it take? In other words, in the future, Nong Shirua would most likely condense her own 5-element origin and step into the creation realm. Thinking of this, Ningqing sighed. People really couldn't be compared to each other. He had the creation mysterious yellow bead, but even now, he didn't dare to think about condensing his own origin. Yet, Nong Shirua had already walked on this path. The Great Tao truly treated everyone equally. Maybe you had good luck and obtained a lot of cultivation resources. But in the end, you might not be able to stand at the same height as someone who didn't obtain any treasures. To succeed, talent, luck, and hard work were all indispensable. But the most important thing was not talent or luck, but hard work. This truth was applicable everywhere. Big Brother Ning, you should have heard that the 5-colored star splitter bow on the 5-colored star splitter square was obtained by my father, right? Before my father sent the bow into the square, he had engraved a mark on it. As long as it's within 10,000 miles of the 5-colored star splitter square, I can recall the 5-colored star splitter bow at any time. Ningqing looked at Nong Shirua in amazement. He couldn't understand why Nong Shimu had taken out the 5-colored star splitter bow in the first place. Nong Shirua knew what Ningqing was thinking. She sighed and said, "When my father obtained the 5-colored star splitter bow, he knew that it didn't have any arrows and would only be of limited help to him. Moreover, there were too many people coveting this bow. He even heard rumors that Zhu Huiyang wanted to exchange it with him. My father and Zhu Jin had a deep friendship, but he looked down on Zhu Huiyang. So he simply engraved the bow on the 5-colored star splitter square, so that no one could covet this bow. When my father was about to die, he felt that Zhu Jin was playing tricks behind his back, and gave me the method to recall the 5-colored star splitter bow. He also told me that if I couldn't find the 5-colored star splitter arrow, I should never recall the 5-colored star splitter bow." At this point, Nong Shirua looked at Ningqing and said, "I didn't expect you to have the 5-colored star splitter arrow on you. It looks like this bow belongs to you." After saying that, Nong Shirua took out a black jade talisman and handed it to Ningqing. "This jade talisman is the talisman to recall the 5-colored star splitter bow. Without this jade talisman, no matter how strong you are, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to take away the 5-colored star splitter bow." Although Ningqing knew that Nong Shirua had already repaid him, he still couldn't help but take the jade talisman. He had come to the radiant sacred domain to do two things. The first was to take away the 5-colored star splitter bow, and the second was to take away the darkness origin bead. Now that Nong Shirua gave him the jade talisman to recall the 5-colored star splitter bow, he couldn't refuse it. He also knew that Nong Shirua wasn't talking nonsense. If the 5-colored star splitter bow could be taken away so easily, it wouldn't have remained standing on the 5-colored star splitter square until now. "Many thanks, Sister Shirua. I can't refuse this jade talisman." Ningqing cupped his fists and thanked her before carefully putting away the jade talisman. He sighed in his heart. He had thought that Nong Shimu had voluntarily placed the 5-colored star splitter bow on the 5-colored star splitter square. But from the looks of it, that wasn't the case at all. Nong Shimu probably knew that if he didn't take out the 5-colored star splitter bow, he wouldn't be at peace. Moreover, he was already seriously injured when he snatched the 5-colored star splitter bow. This kind of restlessness was fatal to him. What he didn't understand was why Nong Shimu would come to the Thunder God Canyon to snatch the darkness origin bead, even though he knew that he was seriously injured. Nong Shirua saw Ning Cheng put away the jade talisman and said, "You must be wondering why my father participated in the fight for the darkness origin bead, right? In fact, there are 2 reasons. First, the darkness origin bead is very important to me. Second, my father had no choice but to go." Nong Shirua didn't explain why he had to go. Instead, she showed an indignant look on her face. After my father obtained the darkness origin bead, someone asked him why he didn't place the darkness origin bead on the square and let it become a symbol of radiant tomorrow. Ning Cheng froze. How could there be such a shameless person? That person had risked his life to obtain it. Why should it be placed on the square as a symbol of radiant tomorrow? Besides, shouldn't the symbol of radiant tomorrow be the radiant origin bead? My father was filled with grief and indignation. Unfortunately, his spiritual soul was about to dissipate at that time and couldn't take me away. Otherwise, my father would have definitely taken me away. After my father died, he told me that if I couldn't derive my own cultivation method from the darkness origin bead, then I shouldn't leave the Sacred Lord region. Fortunately, I did it today. After Nong Shirua finished speaking, she looked at the restrictions outside the cave and seemed to recall her father's dying words. After a long time, she retracted her gaze and looked at Ning Cheng. "Big brother Ning, you should go cultivate. I also have to start healing. When you finish comprehending the darkness origin bead, I will also leave this place." Leave this place? Ning Cheng wanted to ask Nong Shirua where she wanted to go, but he held back in the end. He couldn't help Nong Shirua with his current strength. Only by using the darkness origin bead could he thoroughly comprehend the laws of darkness and restore his strength. Chapter 14:11. In bright brightness, Nong Shimu was definitely a symbol. Every time bright brightness and darkness heaven fought, Nong Shimu was the mainstay. Not only that, Nong Shimu also placed the 5-colored star splitter bow in bright brightness's public square to protect it. Perhaps the 5-colored star splitter arrow only played a symbolic role, but this symbolic role was more important than a peerless powerhouse. What's more, Nong Shimu also sacrificed his life for bright brightness. If he hadn't been seriously injured during the battle with Darkness Heaven, he wouldn't have fallen while snatching the Darkness origin bead. Because of this, apart from a few disgusting people, most people in bright brightness supported Nong Shimu's decision to leave the darkness origin bead to his daughter. He had already died for bright brightness. What was wrong with leaving the darkness origin bead to his daughter? No one dared to touch Nong Shirua in the Sacred Lord region. Apart from the protective spirit techniques and powerful defensive arrays left behind by Nong Shimu, it also had something to do with Nong Shimu's great reputation. Now that Nong Shirua, who lived in the Sacred Lord region, had been taken away by bandits, no one knew if she was dead or alive. Not only the Sacred Lord region, but the entire Radiant Sacred Domain was in an uproar. Sacred Lord Jujin personally went out to hunt down the bandits who kidnapped Nong Shirua. Unfortunately, after several months, there was no news at all. No matter how big the matter was, people would gradually forget it after a long time. However, there was one person who couldn't forget it. That person was Tang Hua, who also lived in the Sacred Lord region. Her grandfather was one of the top 10 powerhouses of the Radiant Sacred Domain, Tang Shi, a Dao Lord of the Radiant Sacred Domain. Even the Radiant Sacred Lord had to show him enough respect. The reason why Tang Shi couldn't forget it was because she suspected that it wasn't the bandits who did it, but Ning Cheng. Before coming to the Radiant Sacred Domain with her, Ning Cheng seemed to care a lot about the darkness origin bead, and even asked about it. Later, after Nong Shirua was kidnapped, she tried contacting Ning Cheng, but there was no reply. This made her frown. Although the Radiant Sacred Domain's powerhouses spoke, Even if Ning Cheng wanted the darkness origin bead, he shouldn't have touched Nong Shirua. Just when she was still wondering if Ning Cheng was the one who kidnapped Nong Shirua, a message fell into her hands. Tang Hua quickly put away her thoughts, stood up and hurriedly walked out. This was her grandfather's summon order. As long as it wasn't an important matter, anyone who received this token from the Tang clan had to immediately go to the assembly hall. When Tang Hua hurriedly rushed to the discussion hall, her grandfather was already sitting on the seat of honor, and there were already dozens of people seated on both sides. The Tang family was a large family in the Holy Land of Light. Those who could sit here were all important figures of the Tang family. Grandfather. After Tang Hua came in, she first bowed to her grandfather. Even though her grandfather doted on her the most, she was still a member of the younger generation of the Tang family, and a woman at that. The man sitting at the head of the table didn't look old. He looked like a middle-aged man with a pale face and no facial hair. This was the Tang clan's ancestor, Tang Shi, and also Tang Hua's grandfather. When Tang Shi saw Tang Hua come in, he revealed a trace of a smile. Hua, you're here. Take a seat first. Yes, grandfather. Tang Hua saluted again before retreating to the right side and sitting down. A few moments later, a few more people came in. Uncle, everyone is here. The short-haired man sitting on the first seat on the left stood up and bowed. Tang Shi nodded. Since everyone is here, I won't speak any nonsense. You might not understand why I gave the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury to Tang Hua. But no matter what, this is my Tang family's matter. If anyone dares to speak about this matter, then don't blame me for being impolite. Father, the opportunity to enter the Radiant Treasury. Even the Sacred Lord is reluctant to give it to others. This is also an opportunity for my Tang family. Although niece Tang Hua's talent is very high, she still needs to go through an assessment before entering. And I heard people say that Tang Hua actually gave the matter of participating in the assessment to a young guard. This is simply. A blue-haired youth stood up and said, but he did not finish his words, as if he was choked by anger. Although the Radiant Treasury was opened by the Sacred Lord, the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury were not completely controlled by the Sacred Lord. The Sacred Lord only controlled 3 of the 5 array flags needed to open the Radiant Treasury, while the other 2 were in the hands of the 10 Dao monarchs of the Holy Land. Because of this, even the Sacred Lord cared about the treasures in the Radiant Treasury. Tang Hua's expression turned ugly. The one who spoke was her youngest uncle. Apart from Liz, no one else knew that she was looking for Ning Cheng to participate in the qualification assessment to enter the Radiant Treasury. From this, it could be seen that Liz had also come to the Holy Land and even provoked the Tang family. Tang Shi also frowned slightly. He looked at Tang Hua and asked, Hua, or is there such a thing? Tang Hua stood up and walked to the middle of the hall before bowing and speaking. Grandpa gave me the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury. Does it mean that if I can get in, then everything inside will belong to me? Tang Shi nodded. That's right. Since it's given to you, then you can get what you want. Naturally, no one will compete with you for it. You are also the disciple with the best qualifications in my Tang family. Therefore, the Radiant Treasury would be the most useful to you. Tang Hua breathed a sigh of relief and spoke up without any hurry. Grandpa, in that case, whether I can get in the Radiant Treasury or not is my own business. That being said, being able to go in and not being able to make a difference. Tang Shi frowned. Tang Hua, you are the disciple with the best qualifications in my Tang family. You can't waste such an opportunity. You should give up the qualifications to enter the treasury. Let us get the qualifications first. Then you can choose what you want. The short-haired man sitting on the first seat on the left stood up once again and spoke with a slightly reprimanding tone. Tang Hua sneered in her heart. If she gave up the opportunity and let others enter the treasury, then it would be strange if she could get anything. However, on the surface, she still calmly bowed to the short-haired man and spoke. Uncle, my father died in the void for the Tang family. Grandpa took pity on me, so he gave me the qualifications to enter the Radiant Treasury. Even if I couldn't get anything, Grandpa would still take pity on me. May I ask, Uncle, why are you reprimanding me? The short-haired man paused for a moment. Before he could speak, Tang Shi waved his hand and spoke. Let's leave this matter as it is. Don't talk about it anymore. No matter how Tang Hua deals with it, this matter is Tang Hua's own business. Everyone, let's talk about how Nong Shimu's cave's defensive restrictions were broken, and Nong Shirua disappeared. Who did this? Wasn't it the road robber Rantan? Idiot, how could a road robber break into Nong Shimu's cave? In the depths of the Thunder God Canyon, Ning Cheng, who had been in seclusion for 2 years, suddenly stood up. He casually raised his hand, and a dark aura that almost swallowed up the space around him swept up. It's finally done. Dao Monarch Darkness, that old fart, is really cunning. Ning Cheng breathed a sigh of relief and immediately retracted his hand. The dark aura swept up along with his hand, and disappeared without a trace. If he hadn't come here by luck, he would have definitely suffered when facing Dao Monarch Darkness in the future. Congratulations, Big Brother Ning. You've mastered the law of darkness, and your cultivation has improved greatly. Nong Shirua's voice came from the door. Ning Cheng happily walked out of the cave, and handed the darkness origin bead to Nong Shirua. He then cupped his fist towards her and said, Many thanks, Sister Shirua. If not for your darkness origin bead, I wouldn't have achieved what I have today. Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel happy. Not only had he completely recovered his cultivation, but because of the darkness origin bead, his control over the law of darkness was completely different from before. Without Nong Shirua, Ning Cheng was sure that he wouldn't have fully recovered his strength in just 2 years and reached the peak of Dao integration. Nong Shirua happily put away the darkness origin bead. In 2 years, her cultivation had also recovered, and her strength had also improved. Most importantly, from now on, no one would be able to restrain her as she pleased, and no one would be able to restrain her. Although Ning Cheng was anxious about chasing Bull in the 9 Reliance rest stop, he still took out a jade box and handed it to Nong Shirua. Sister Shirua, thank you for your help. I don't have anything good, and this bead isn't of much use to me. I'll give it to you. Nong Shirua didn't care about it and took the bead Ning Cheng handed to her. Thank you. She only said 2 words when she felt something wrong. She immediately opened the jade box in her hand and exclaimed, Is this a natural dragon bead? The next moment, she quickly closed the jade box and handed it back to Ning Cheng. Big Brother Ning, this thing is too precious. I can't take it. Ning Cheng laughed. Sister Shirua, even if this thing is precious, it's not necessarily more precious than the darkness origin bead, right? Sister Shirua can lend me the darkness origin bead for 2 years to help me recover my strength. But now Sister Shirua thinks that this natural dragon bead is too precious. Aren't you looking down on me? Besides, I vaguely feel that this natural dragon bead is more useful to you than to me. Ning Cheng originally intended to give this bead to Aoken. Aoken already had a natural dragon bead, and the Grand Essence Realm also had another natural dragon bead to suppress the Grand Array. Once the Grand Essence Realm was perfected, he would take this natural dragon bead away. Besides, Nong Shirua had given away the darkness origin bead, so what if Ning Cheng gave away a natural dragon bead? If the gift was too poor, it would show that he didn't have the courage. When Nong Shirua heard Ning Cheng's words, she knew that she had underestimated Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was obviously different from ordinary cultivators. He was a man with a majestic aura. He wouldn't hesitate to give away something just because it was good. Then I'll have to thank Big Brother Ning. Nong Shirua didn't refuse anymore. If she did, it would mean that she didn't treat Ning Cheng as a friend. Big Brother Ning, you wanted to keep Zhou Xing, was it because Zhou Xing wasn't from this universe? Nong Shirua took the initiative to ask after putting away the natural dragon bead. Ning Cheng smiled. It looks like you know that I'm not from Bright Heaven or Dark Heaven. Zhou Xing and I are from another universe. Unfortunately, I can't find my way back to this universe. Chapter 14:12. Nong Shirua took out a jade strip and handed it to Ning Cheng. Big Brother Ning, take this jade strip. My father gave it to me. My father said that the universe we are in is called the Light and Dark Universe, and the other universe is called the 5 Elements Universe. I believe that the 5 Elements Universe is where you came from, right? As for the Light and Dark Universe and the 5 Elements Universe, I don't know if there are other universes. Ningqing asked in surprise. Shirua, is this jade strip the location of the light and dark universe's positional plane? Nong Shifan nodded. Yes, my father's strength may not be the strongest in this world, but there are very few people who can surpass him in terms of experience and cultivation. However, my father has been unable to break through the shackles and has been lingering at the Unity Realm. After that, my father searched everywhere for a way to leave this universe, and he found the sacred river. The sacred river is the surface of the universe here. Ningqing looked at Nong Shirua in surprise. But I heard that to cross the sacred domain river, one must take the radiant treasure carriage. Moreover, no one has ever come out of the sacred domain river. Nong Shirua was also a little confused as she said, I'm not too sure about this. My father didn't go down to investigate either. I was just about to tell Big Brother Ning that even if the sacred domain river is the boundary of our universe, we still have to treat it with caution. Unfortunately, I killed Zhou Xing otherwise. I can ask Zhou Xing how he came here. Ningqing wanted to ask Nong Shirua why the sacred domain river roared when he was about to take away the water from the sacred domain river. After hearing Nong Shirua's words, he didn't ask any further. Nong Shirua clearly did not know about this. Big Brother Ning, I have to go. Maybe after many years, we will meet again, or maybe we will never meet again. Take care. With that, Nong Shirua bowed to Ningqing. Ningqing then took out a communications pearl and handed it to Nong Shirua. Shirua, this is my communications pearl. If we were still in the same universe, I would be able to vaguely sense you crushing this communications pearl. Take care of yourself. The path of cultivation is long, and we don't know what will happen in the future. We can only wish each other the best. Nong Shirua put away the communication pearl and bowed once more. Then she turned and walked out of the cave, her figure flickering as she disappeared. Ningqing stood at the entrance of the immortal cave, and when he could not sense Nong Shirua's presence, he gave out a sigh and put away the array flags that he had used to arrange the immortal cave. Although Nong Shirua was a woman, she was a straightforward and generous person. Although the 9 Reliance Rest Inn was in the Sacred Lord region, it was located in a remote city. There weren't any high-class merchant buildings or experts here, so it wasn't eye-catching. It was reasonable to say that such an inconspicuous little inn in a small market square that wasn't considered very prosperous shouldn't have offended any powerful people. In reality, the 9 Reliance Rest Inn had already been burned to ashes by someone. They didn't even dare to rebuild it. Ningqing stood at the entrance of the 9 Reliance Rest Stop. Although he looked calm on the outside, his heart was burning with anger. Chasing Bull had always been in the 9 Reliance Resting Pen. Now that the 9 Reliance Resting Pen had burned down, it would be strange if anything good happened to Chasing Bull. No matter what, Chasing Bull was still his companion beast. Friend, may I ask what's going on with the 9 Reliance Rest Inn? I remember when I came here many years ago, the rest stop was still here. How did it get destroyed now? With such a good piece of land, why didn't anyone rebuild a rest stop? Ningqing grabbed a cultivator passing by and asked. The man glanced at Ningqing and spoke up in a hurry. I don't know. With that, the man quickly broke free from Ningqing's hand and hurriedly walked into the crowd. It would be strange if he didn't know about it. This person clearly didn't dare to say it. Ningqing didn't continue to ask the passers-by. He put on his mask and found the Market Square's Quest Guild. Half an hour later, the Market Square's Quest Guild posted a quest. Although the quest looked simple, the reward was amazing. The quest only asked who destroyed the 9 Reliance Rest Stop in the Market Square, and why it was destroyed. The reward was a high-grade spirit artifact, plus a top-grade primordial healing Dao pill. The time limit was an hour. Within these 2 hours, whoever gave the most perfect answer would obtain the item. It was just a question about a piece of information that most people already knew about, yet the reward was so high. From this, one could imagine how rich the person who posted the news was. Or rather, how eager the person who posted the news was to find out about this matter. Not to mention a high-grade spirit artifact. Even a low-grade spirit artifact was a treasure that countless people would fight over in Bright Radiance. What's more, in addition to a high-grade spirit artifact, there was also a top-grade primordial healing Dao pill. When this quest came out, not to mention an hour, It only took half an incense stick worth of time for the entire market square to know about it. In just an incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng, who posted the quest, got an accurate and complete answer. Half a year ago, Yu Duodai passed through the 9 Reliance rest stop. At that time, Yu Duodai was cultivating the spiritual consciousness restriction-breaking spirit technique. As such, her spiritual consciousness broke through the many room restrictions of the 9 Reliance rest stop without any scruples. However, when she tried to break through one of the room's restrictions, it blocked her. This surprised Yu Duodai. She deliberately entered the rest stop and used her spiritual consciousness to attack the room's restrictions. However, she still couldn't break through the room's restrictions. This made Yu Duodai feel very dissatisfied. She had a strong spiritual consciousness cultivation method, so how could she not break through a room's restrictions in a small rest stop? She immediately brought out a weapon to attack the room's restrictions. Letting Yu Duodai come into the rest stop to test her spiritual consciousness restriction-breaking technique was already too much. But now that Yu Duodai wanted to use a weapon to attack the restrictions, the 9 Reliance rest stop steward immediately stopped Yu Duodai. Because of this, the 9 Reliance rest stop's fate was sealed. Yu Duodai directly killed everyone in the rest stop, including the steward and the guests. After killing everyone, Yu Duodai burned down the 9 Reliance rest stop. She also said that whoever dared to rebuild the 9 Reliance rest stop would be the next person to be killed. No one dared to ignore Yu Duodai's words. Perhaps Yu Duodai was not a surprise, as she was only at the Dao transformation realm. However, Yu Duodai's Dao companion, Tseng Laifu, was a famous expert in the Radiance Sacred Region. Although Tseng Laifu was not among the Radiance Sacred Region's 10 major Dao lords, Tseng Laifu's strength was not weaker than any of the 10 major Dao lords. He was a peerless genius and was recognized by the Radiance Sacred Region as the successor to Nong Shimu. In the Radiance Sacred Region, when the 10 major Dao lords were mentioned, one would naturally think of the Sacred Lord Protectorate's Leaf Dao School. The master of Leaf Dao School was Tseng Laifu. In addition, Yu Duodai's grandfather, Yu Shi, was one of the 10 major Dao lords of the Radiance Sacred Region. With such a powerful backer, even the Radiance Sacred Region's Sacred Lord Jujin would have to show some respect, let alone a small rest stop. Therefore, when Yu Duodai killed everyone in the 9 Reliance rest stop and destroyed the 9 Reliance rest stop, because of a trivial matter, no one dared to talk about it. No one talked about it anymore. Ning Cheng had used a high-grade divine artifact and a top-notch primordial chaos healing Dao pill to attract many people. In a luxurious inner hall of the Leaf Dao School, a beautiful woman looked at the information in her hand and immediately slammed the tea table in front of her, shattering it into pieces. Who is it? Find out who dares to use a high-grade divine artifact to investigate me, Yu Duodai? After I catch him, immediately extract his soul. No, immediately send him here. The woman was beautiful, but her words were filled with extreme hostility. It seemed as if issuing such a mission was equivalent to offending her dignity, which was unforgivable. Lady, I heard that it was a person wearing a mask. A female servant said carefully. Go and call the person in charge of that guild. Who gave him the courage to issue such a mission? The beautiful woman's tone turned even angrier. Yes, Nyang Nyang. The servant girl quickly bowed and slowly retreated. After the servant left, another servant walked in with a bowl of steaming soup. Lady, today is the middle of the month. The wind-seeking unicorn soup is ready. When the beautiful woman heard this, the anger on her face dissipated, and she nodded. Then bring it up. This ox is not bad. I'm afraid that I will advance in a year. You won't be able to advance for the rest of your life. A cold voice rang out. Who is it? The beautiful woman suddenly stood up. How could she not know that someone had entered the Leaf Dao School? The cave residence's restriction in front of her entrance violently blasted open, and a young man in linen robes stood at the entrance of her cave residence. Chapter 1413. Who are you? How dare you come to my Leifu Dao gate? Yu Duodai snapped. Her voice was too sharp, revealing some of the fear deep in her heart. Her beautiful face became a little twisted because of this fear. Ningqing stepped forward and raised his hand to grab at the void. Yu Duodai felt like a chicken caught by Ningqing's void handprint without any ability to resist. Before Ningqing could do anything, Yu Duodai screamed, "Don't you dare touch me. My grandfather Yu Shi is one of the 10 Dao lords of the radiant sacred domain. My husband Sung Leifu is a convergence realm powerhouse. If you touch me..." Slap! Ningqing slapped Yu Duodai's face from the void, and 5 bloody marks immediately covered half of her face. "Do you know what soup you just drank?" Ningqing's tone was cold and filled with strong killing intent. "It's a spirit beast I obtained by chance, the wind-seeking heavenly bull. There's still half of the wind-seeking heavenly bull left. If you want it, I can give it to you. Please don't do it." Seeing that Ningqing really wanted to make a move, Yu Duodai panicked and started begging for mercy. Other people's lives were not even worth an ant's life in her eyes, but her own life was very important. Not to mention her life, even a strand of her hair was very precious to her. But now Ningqing's slap left 5 bloody marks on her face. From this, it showed that this person in front of her didn't have any tender feelings for the fairer sex. Ningqing laughed, but there was no smile on his face. "That wind-seeking heavenly bull is my companion beast. It's just in seclusion in the 9 Reliance rest stop. It didn't provoke you, yet you actually made soup out of it. Not only did you make soup out of it, but you also cut off a piece of its flesh every day and didn't allow it to heal. I didn't expect that there would be such a vicious woman like you in this world. A woman like you living is a stain to this space." Ningqing's spiritual consciousness had already swept past Chasing Bull. Chasing Bull was locked in a cave behind it with restrictions. Its body was cut to pieces and covered in bloody holes. In many places, even its bones could be seen. Blood kept flowing, and it didn't allow it to heal. Ningqing also understood why Yu Duodai did this. Once Chasing Bull healed and regrown, the effect of the soup would be much worse. At the same time, the fresher the wind-seeking heavenly bull's flesh, the better. Because of this, Chasing Bull could still breathe even after suffering all kinds of torture. However, every few days, a few pieces of meat would be cut off from its body and used to make soup. This kind of life was also suffering. After this incident, Ningqing believed that Chasing Bull would no longer be lazy. Feeling Ningqing's incomparably sharp killing intent, Yu Duodai truly felt terrified. Her man had yet to return. What should she do? By the time her grandfather arrived, she would have already been killed. "Don't touch me. I'm willing to be your woman. I know many ways to please you." Yu Duodai was still screaming for a way out when Ningqing raised his hand and threw her out. At the same time, he shot out hundreds of sharp soul thorns. "Even if the 10 great Dao lords of the radiant sacred region are your gigolo, I will still nail you to death today, you vicious bitch," Ningqing said sarcastically. A series of screams erupted as Ningqing nailed Yu Duodai to the void. 107 soul spikes pierced into her body, causing her screams to become weaker and weaker. In just a few minutes, her soul was completely destroyed, and she didn't even have a chance to reincarnate. Ningqing had never killed a person in such a cruel manner. Even if it was an enemy, he would usually kill them directly. But this woman was too vicious. Although Chasing Bull was a bull, it had spiritual wisdom, which was equivalent to a human. Even if Ningqing often scolded Chasing Bull, he had never treated Chasing Bull as a real beast. It would have been fine if Yu Duodai had killed Chasing Bull. But this woman, in order to drink the best wind-seeking heavenly unicorn soup, had even cut off her flesh to satisfy her desires. It would have been strange if Ningqing had treated such a woman politely. Chasing Bull's body ended up with 107 bloody holes, and Ningqing had nailed 107 soul thorns into Yu Duodai's body. After nailing Yu Duodai, Ningqing raised his foot and kicked the void. Ningqing then stomped on Yu Duodai's beautiful palace, turning it into ruins. As Yu Duodai's immortal's cave was trampled, the surrounding immortal's cave collapsed with a crash. Chasing Bull, imprisoned in the spiritual kitchen, looked at the collapsing surroundings in horror. It raised its blood-red eyes and finally saw Ningqing coming over. It immediately screamed, "Master, please save your most loyal pet, Chasing Bull." Ningqing took a step forward and landed beside Chasing Bull. He then raised his hand and slapped away the restrictions on Chasing Bull's body. At the same time, he threw several medicinal pills into Chasing Bull's mouth. Although Chasing Bull suffered a lot of torture, its Dao charm remained intact. After Ningqing abolished Chasing Bull's shackles and gave it several healing pills, Chasing Bull recovered to its original state in just a short time. But because of the severe damage to its vitality, it would take a long time for its cultivation to recover. Seeing Ningqing's unhappy expression, Chasing Bull spoke up with some shame. "Master, I've lost face for you." Ningqing scolded. "You also know how to lose face. A little Dao transformation woman can take you away." So many cultivation resources ended up in a dog's hands. "I'm clearly a bull. Besides, it wasn't that woman who did it, but someone stronger than that woman." These were Chasing Bull's heartfelt words, but it didn't dare to say them out loud. "Master, I will definitely go back and cultivate hard. I will never be as useless as I am now." After suffering all the torture and suffering, Chasing Bull finally realized that it was too weak. "You go in first, I'm going to start killing." Ningqing raised his hand and put Chasing Bull into the mysterious yellow bead. At this time, dozens of Dao Essence powerhouses had already surrounded them, including several World Creation Realm powerhouses. Since Ningqing came to kick Leaf Dao Gate, he wouldn't show any mercy. For a ridiculous reason. These people had helped Yu Duodai slaughter the 9 Reliance rest stop. From this, one could see how many innocent people these people had killed. Ningqing didn't know any of the people killed in the 9 Reliance rest stop. He was very clear in his heart that those people were implicated and killed because of the restrictions that he had set up. Since he was the one who implicated them, he would also take this enmity. Under the breaking law, traceless spear patterns shot out. Even World Creation Realm powerhouses couldn't stop Ningqing's killing spree. In just half an incense stick worth of time, Ningqing's traceless spear patterns killed dozens of experts here. He didn't even cast a single Great Spirit technique. Some of the cultivators who hadn't joined the battlefield, after seeing Ningqing's power, didn't dare to step forward and continue to stop Ningqing. In just a short period of time, all of them had fled. Ningqing didn't bother to chase after them, and continued to sweep out with his spear patterns. The magnificent and majestic Leaf Dao Gate had been turned into ruins by Ningqing. After doing all this, Ningqing calmly swaggered away. Who is this person? So powerful. Strength is secondary. What's more important is his courage. He dared to level Leaf Dao Gate. Now that Dao Lord Leaf is back, I'm afraid he'll turn the sky upside down. Not to mention Dao Lord Leaf, even Radiant Sacred Domain's Dao Lord, you wouldn't let this person go. Retribution. How many innocent souls did Yu Duodai kill over the years? Do you want to die? Yu Duodai was killed, and Leaf Dao Gate was destroyed. But Dao Lord Leaf is still here. And there's also Dao Lord Yu. This matter is far from over. After Ningqing left, many cultivators who were watching outside the ruins of Leaf Dao Gate began to talk. At this time, people from the Sacred Lord region also came to investigate the scene in order to track down the culprit. What? Leaf Dao Gate was leveled. Yu Duodai was killed? How is that possible? Yu Duodai was killed in her cave abode? Leaf Dao Gate was also destroyed? For a time, the entire Radiant Sacred Domain was shocked by this matter. If the 10 Dao Lords were enraged and severely injured Yu Duodai, it would still be possible. But now not only was Yu Duodai killed, but even Leaf Dao Gate was destroyed. Many of the experts from the Leaf Dao school were killed. Who dares to kill people from my Yu clan? A rough voice sounded from the depths of Yu clan, followed by a figure with a powerful aura rushing towards Leaf Dao Gate. This voice broke through all kinds of soundproofing restrictions, and the violent anger could even be felt by the entire Sacred Lord region. Everyone who heard this voice knew that Dao Lord Yoshi, one of the 10 Dao Lords of the Radiant Sacred Domain, was angry. Among the 10 Dao Lords of the Radiant Sacred Domain, Dao Lord Yoshi wasn't the strongest, but he was definitely one of the Dao Lords that no one wanted to offend. This was because he was cruel and ruthless, and he would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Even if it was someone who made him unhappy, he could use the cruelest method to kill them. Once, because someone taught a junior of the Yu clan a lesson, Yoshi forcibly killed that person's entire clan. At the same time, he killed the guy who taught the Yu clan a lesson for 3,000 years before destroying his soul. Now, not only had someone offended the Yu clan, but he had also killed the pearl of the Yu clan, Yu Duodai. This almost drove Yoshi crazy. At this time, he only had one thought in his mind, and that was to capture this person and kill him for 1,000,000 years, making him suffer all the torture in the world. When Yoshi came out, the onlookers of Leaf Dao Gate dispersed. Apart from some investigators from the Sacred Lord region who were still searching the ruins, no one dared to stay here. Greetings, Dao Lord Yoshi. Seeing Yoshi come over, these cultivators who were still investigating the ruins bowed. The murderous aura on Yoshi's face could almost condense into sharp blades. He stared coldly at these investigating cultivators and asked, "Who did it?" Replying to Dao Lord Yoshi, "We haven't found out yet, but we left a few words here." After the investigating cultivator finished speaking, he pointed to the cave residence that originally belonged to Yu Duodai. Yoshi's gaze swept over, and there were a few faint words in the void. "I will kill Tsing Leaf. Yu clan, don't provoke me. Otherwise, this will be the end of the Yu clan. You're courting death." Yoshi's anger rose. He raised his hand and slapped the faintly discernible words. What Yoshi and the several investigators didn't expect was that the originally faint words became clear because of Yoshi's angry slap. Moreover, it became bigger and bigger, floating above the ruins of Leaf Dao Gate. Under these faint words, Yu Duodai, who was nailed in the void by Ningcheng, slowly revealed herself. Chapter 14:14. Ah! Seeing Yu Duodai nailed in the void, Yoshi screamed. At this moment, everyone in the Sacred Lord region could hear Yoshi's terrifying scream. The investigators also moved to the side. No one dared to provoke Yoshi at that moment. "I'm going to skin you alive." Yoshi's eyes were burning with anger, and he raised his hand to move Yu Duodai down from the void. However, before he could do anything, Yu Duodai, who had been nailed in the void, suddenly turned into a mist of blood and dissipated. Yoshi was stunned on the spot. His granddaughter turned into a bloody mist in front of him, and he didn't have the ability to stop it. In the distance, the cultivators from the Sacred Lord region who were investigating looked at all of this in shock. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Everyone thought that Yugi would go crazy again. What surprised them was that Yoshi did not fly into a rage. Instead, he stood there blankly for a long time before he carefully put away the remaining items and turned to leave. Yoshi was even a little horrified. It was understandable that he didn't see clearly that Yu Duodai was nailed to the void by a concealment array formation because of his anger. After he saw Yu Duodai, he was still unable to see through the hidden killing array that tore apart Yu Duodai's body. There was only one explanation, and that was that the person who had arranged all of this was far stronger than Yoshi in terms of array Dao. Yoshi had a bad temper and killed people like flies. He had no regard for human life, but he was not a fool. How many experts were there in the Holy Realm? How many experts did Radiant Heaven have? Among so many experts, Yoshi's aptitude was not the best, and his luck was not the best. The fact that he was able to stand out and become one of the 10 Dao Lords of the Sacred Realm was definitely not due to luck. Such an expert had killed Yu Duodai and threatened the Yu clan. If he was still so irritable, the Yu clan might really be destroyed. No matter how strong the other party was, it was impossible for him to stand above Yoshi. Vengeance had to be taken, and it had to be done ruthlessly. He could not be reckless. Yoshi, who originally had some resentment towards Tseng Laifu, sent a message to Tseng Laifu as soon as he left the Leaf Dao Gate. Although Tseng Laifu was very young, he wasn't the slightest bit weaker than the 10 Dao Lords. In the face of such a strong opponent, he had to take it seriously. After leaving the Sacred Lord region, Ningcheng once again returned to the Sacred Lord region. At this time, the linen clothes on his body had been replaced by a green robe, and the mask on his face was gone. He knew that as one of the 10 great Dao Lords, if Yoshi really wanted to investigate, it would be very easy for him to find out that it was him. However, he didn't care about it at all. If Yoshi investigated him and wanted to take action against him, He would simply take away the 5-colored star splitter bow and kill Yu Shi. He had battled integration realm experts before, and he had only been at the early stage Dao integration realm when he had battled integration realm experts. At the moment, he was infinitely close to perfected Dao integration, and had mastered the law of darkness. He did not believe that he could not kill Yu Shi, unless Yu Shi was a freak like Xing Shi. Because of this, he had left a message for the Yu family not to provoke him. His message was not threatening at all. If the Yu clan provoked him, he would not hesitate to destroy the Yu clan. From Yu Duodai, he could see that the Yu clan was definitely jackals of the same tribe. He would not be lenient in destroying such a clan. Patrolling cultivators were everywhere in the Sacred Lord region. Leaf Dao sect had been raised and Yu Duodai had been nailed to death in the void. This matter was much more serious than the destruction of Nong Shilua's cave abode in the Sacred Lord region. Nong Shimu's reputation was indeed far greater than Sing Laifu's, and not something Yu Shi could compare to. However, Nong Shimu had already perished, and the tea would cool after he left. Nong Shilua was gone, and no one would look for the root cause of this matter with great fanfare. However, Leaf Dao sect was different. Not to mention one of the 10 great Dao lords. Even a rising star like Tsung Laifu was someone that no one in the Radiant Sacred region would dare not take seriously. As soon as Ningcheng arrived in the Sacred Lord region, he sent a message to Tang Hua. Tang Hua arrived very quickly. After Ningcheng sent the message, Tang Hua arrived in front of him in less than an incense stick worth of time. The two cultivators who wanted to stop Ningcheng from inspecting him consciously turned away when they saw Tang Hua. "Brother Ning, come with me quickly." When Tang Hua saw Ningcheng, she had an extremely complicated expression on her face. She simply greeted Ningcheng and left with him. After an incense stick worth of time, Ningcheng arrived at the Tang clan's territory. After entering the Tang clan's territory, Ningcheng sighed at the power of the 10 great Dao lords. Tang Hua's grandfather, Tang Shi, was definitely not the premier Dao lord of the Radiant Sacred region. However, the Tang clan's emperor region was much larger than his grand essence mountain. The essence chi here was rich, and the laws here were clear. It was truly a good place for secluded cultivation. The arrangement of the caves was also extremely orderly, from low to high. Ningcheng didn't use his spiritual consciousness to sweep through the entire Tang clan. He knew that the deepest part of the Tang clan's territory was where Tang Shi cultivated. Although Tang Hua brought Ningcheng in, no one dared to ask anything along the way. Most of them just stood to the side and saluted Tang Hua. From this, Ningcheng understood that Tang Hua had a high status in the Tang clan. Tang Hua's cave should be located in the best place in the entire Tang clan, with exceptionally rich heaven and earth spirit chi. Your status in the Tang clan isn't low. After entering Tang Hua's cave, Ningcheng took the initiative to speak up. Tang Hua quickly activated the restrictions, and heaved a sigh of relief before pouring a cup of divine grasses for Ningcheng. "Brother Ning, you really have some guts. Did you destroy the Leifu Dao Gate?" It wasn't surprising that Tang Hua knew about chasing bull, and that he destroyed the Leifu Dao Gate. "That's right, I destroyed it." Ningcheng replied without any care. Tang Hua sighed and said, "Brother Ning, you should leave quickly. I'll lend you the radiant treasure carriage." "Why should I leave?" Ningcheng calmly took a sip of tea and asked, "Do you know the strength behind Yu Duodai? Yu Shi is one of the top 10 Dao lords of the Radiant Sacred region. And Sung Laifu is no less powerful than the top 10 Dao lords. Even my grandfather would have to give in to Yu Shi and Sung Laifu. It's not too late for you to leave now. But don't take any chances. I'm sure Yu Shi will find out that you did it sooner or later. Even if the Yu clan can't find out, that Liz will definitely tell on you." Tang Hua finished in one breath. Ningcheng showed a slight smile. "I didn't intend to hide it. If I can help you enter the Radiant Treasure House, it would be for the best. If I can't get in, it wouldn't be too late for me to leave. Besides, your grandfather is your grandfather, and I am me." Tang Hua looked at Ningcheng in surprise. She knew that Ningcheng had concealed his cultivation, but Ningcheng's words showed that he didn't even fear her grandfather. Didn't this mean that Ningcheng didn't fear the top 10 Dao lords with his strength? What kind of powerhouse was this? "Did you do Nong Shirua's case?" Tang Hua asked again. Ningcheng shook his head. No, I admire Nong Shimu very much. I would never do such a thing. Tang Hua felt slightly relieved in her heart, but immediately felt tangled again. If Yushi investigated this matter and asked Ning Cheng to participate in the treasure house selection, wouldn't it cause the Tang clan to offend the Yu clan and Seng Laifu? Ning Cheng saw Tang Hua's tangled thoughts and simply stood up and said, Miss Tang Hua, if you are worried, then we can cancel our previous agreement. I will leave this place immediately and not implicate you. Ning Cheng really wanted to go to the Radiant Treasure House, and Tang Hua was the owner who hired him. The owner was scared witless and didn't want to make such a deal. Tang Hua quickly spoke up. No, I'm just worried about you. Ning Cheng suddenly spoke up. I think your grandfather should be here. Saying this sentence, Ning Cheng's figure instantly faded, and then disappeared without a trace. Just like the laws in the air, he completely integrated into space. Tang Hua looked at Ning Cheng's disappearing figure in shock. Whether it was her spiritual consciousness or her sixth sense, she couldn't detect Ning Cheng's position. What kind of method was this? Fortunately, she quickly remembered Ning Cheng's words and raised her hand to put away Ning Cheng's teacup. At this time, the restrictions outside the immortal cave activated. Tang Hua opened the restrictions of the immortal cave and saw her grandfather, Tang Shi, standing outside the immortal cave. Grandpa, why are you here? Tang Hua felt secretly surprised. Ning Cheng knew that her grandfather had come, but her grandfather didn't even notice Ning Cheng. Even if it was just that, her grandfather came to her room and didn't notice Ning Cheng. Could it be that Ning Cheng was even stronger than her grandfather? Tang Shi nodded and walked into Tang Hua's immortal cave and sat down. Tang Hua quickly poured a cup of divine spirit tea for her grandfather, feeling a little nervous in her heart. Although her grandfather loved her dearly, he rarely came to the immortal cave where she cultivated. This time her grandfather came here for something. After Tang Shi motioned for Tang Hua to sit down, he asked, Hua, or do you know about the matter with the Leaf Dao Gate? Hua knows. Tang Hua quickly replied. I heard that the artifact crafting master you found had a wind-seeking heavenly bull as a companion beast. Yu Duodai was killed because of a wind-seeking heavenly bull, and that person even destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate. Tang Shi finished his sentence and stared at Tang Hua. Tang Hua didn't dare to hide it. She knew that it must have been Liz who said it. Otherwise, even her grandfather wouldn't know about it so quickly. Grandpa, that Ning Cheng does indeed have a wind-seeking heavenly bull as a companion beast. As for whether or not he destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate, I don't know. If it is, I won't let him help me participate in the Radiance Treasury selection. Grandpa, please rest assured. Oh, why is that? Tang Shi looked at Tang Hua and asked. Tang Hua spoke up carefully. I'm afraid that what he does will have an impact on my Tang family. After all, it's related to one of the top 10 Dao monarchs, Yushi, and that's Seng Laifu. Aha! Tang Shi suddenly laughed. If that person really has the ability, then what's the harm in using his help? Our Tang family only asked him to participate in the qualification assessment to enter the Radiance Treasury. The destruction of the Leaf Dao Gate was not the work of our Tang family. If Yushi wants to vent his anger on us, then my Tang family is not a piece of paper. Yes, Grandpa, I understand. Tang Hua quickly spoke up with a respectful tone. She thought that her grandfather had come to warn her not to let Ning Cheng take action. She didn't expect her grandfather to tell her that it would be fine to let Ning Cheng take action. Tang Shi seemed to have come here specifically to say this. After saying that, he immediately got up and left. After Tang Shi left, Ning Cheng's figure appeared. He had been listening to Tang Shi's words, and he completely understood what Tang Shi meant. If the Tang family knew that Ning Cheng was the one who destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate, then they would immediately not dare to ask Ning Cheng to help them participate in the assessment. It showed that the Tang family was afraid of the Yu family and Seng Laifu. Of course, it was also possible that the Tang family wanted to win him over. Brother Ning, how did you do it? Why didn't my grandfather notice you? Tang Hua looked at Ning Cheng and asked in surprise. Chapter 14-15. Ning Cheng hesitated for a moment before speaking. I guess that your grandfather has already noticed that something is wrong, but he should not care about it. Ningqing vaguely felt that Tang Shi seemed to be aware of it. However, he did not care about it. After all, it was normal for the laws of heaven and earth to fluctuate a little. This meant that his comprehension of the law of darkness was still lacking. Once he completely merged with the laws of heaven and earth in this space and transformed into the laws of darkness, Tang Shi would definitely be fine. Are you still willing to continue working with me? Ningqing didn't want to waste time with Tang Hua. If Tang Hua didn't want to, he planned to leave the sacred master region with the 5-colored star splitter bow. He had a lot of things to do, and it was impossible for him to waste his time here. Tang Hua spoke with affirmation. Since my grandfather said so, then I am naturally willing to ask for your help. Are you going to stay with me or at the inn? How long is it until the Radiant Treasury's qualification round? Ningqing did not answer directly, but asked a question. There's still half a year. Tang Hua replied. Good, then I will come back in half a year. Ningqing replied. He knew that staying in Tang Hua's place was a complete waste of time. If he hid here and did nothing, Tang Shi would definitely not know that he was here. Once he comprehended a Dao art here, then Tang Shi would definitely know. To him, it was simply unrealistic to do nothing for half a year. Ningqing did not want to complicate matters. He had already offended 2 peak-level powerhouses. If he added on his hidden opponent, Zhu Jin, then it would not be a good thing for him to expose himself. Once he was surrounded by Yu Shi and Sung Laifu, Zhu Jin would definitely deal with him. If Zhu Jin made a move, Tang Shi would probably make a move in order to remove the Tang family from the picture. Even if Tang Shi didn't intervene, other Dao Lords might intervene. He was only one person and could not deal with so many people. Then we'll meet again in half a year. If you need my help, you can send me a message anytime. Tang Hua also understood Ningqing's intentions. With Yu Shi's ability, he would be able to find out Ningqing's vague origins in half a year. The Tang family wasn't afraid of the Yu family, and they didn't want to become enemies with the Yu family over this matter. Inviting Ningqing to participate in the selection to enter the treasure house was one thing, but letting Ningqing stay in the Tang clan to cultivate was another matter altogether. Ningqing did not intend to ask Tang Hua for help, but after listening to Tang Hua's words, he hesitated and suddenly spoke. Miss Tang Hua, can you lend me your radiant treasure carriage? Tang Hua was only slightly surprised for a moment, before she took out her radiant treasure carriage without hesitation and handed it to Ningqing. Just refine it yourself a little, and you will be able to control it. She had some understanding of Ningqing's character, and believed that Ningqing didn't borrow her treasure carriage to escape. If it was to escape, then Ningqing could have just said it directly, because if she had said it directly, she would have lent it to Ningqing. Many thanks, I'll be taking my leave now. I'll see you again in half a year. Ningqing put away the radiant treasure carriage, before cupping his fists towards Tang Hua and saying a few words of thanks. His figure flashed as he instantly escaped. Wait, I'll take you out. Tang Hua immediately thought of the Tang clan's strict restrictions. If she did not take Ningqing out, then perhaps it would be very difficult for Ningqing to leave. But just as she finished this sentence, Ningqing had already disappeared. Tang Hua was secretly shocked. No wonder it was rumored that the powerhouse who killed Yu Duodai had set up a concealment array, that even Yu Shi didn't notice. This brother Ning's attainments in the Tao of array formations had reached the pinnacle. At least within the radiant sacred domain, no one could surpass him. As for the strength of the Tang clan's grand defensive array, Tang Hua was well aware of it. But even with such a grand defensive array, the Tang clan's guards could not even detect it after the other party left. It was a testament to their ability. Tang Hua didn't care about Ningqing passing through the defensive array and leaving, as it was a bit rude to her Tang clan. She also vaguely guessed some of Ningqing's thoughts. Ningqing was telling her that if a fight broke out in the future, her Tang clan should not intervene, because if she angered him, then Tang Hua's defensive array would turn into a decoration. Tang Hua did not intend to tell her grandfather, Tang Shi, about this. In any case, she would not let the Tang clan intervene in the battle between Ningqing and Yu clan and Sung Laifu. She also believed that her grandfather would not participate in it. Ningqing indeed had the intention of telling the Tang clan not to intervene in his affairs, but Tang Hua did not completely guess it. Ningqing did not think that the Tang clan would help the Yu clan and Seng Laifu, but he was worried that the Tang clan would help Zhu Jin. He and Tang Hua had a pleasant cooperation. If the Tang clan wanted to deal with him, he would not show any mercy. In this place, showing mercy was tantamount to courting death. Sacred River. Not only was it the most mysterious place in bright light heaven, but it was also the most mysterious place in dark heaven. The bright heaven and dark heaven of the light and dark heaven were incompatible like fire and water, and a great war would break out every few tens of thousands of years. If not for the sacred river, then bright light heaven and dark heaven would have fought each other almost every day. The sacred river stretched through the light and dark universe, and no one knew its source, nor its end. They only knew that the sacred river not only divided the bright holy domain, but also the dark holy domain of dark heaven. The main stem of the sacred river was the bright light heaven and dark heaven. Ningqing stood on the edge of the main stem of the sacred river, which was the location Nong Shirua had pointed out to him in the jade strip. This jade strip did not belong to Nong Shirua, but something left to her by Nong Shirua's father. The sacred river was most likely the boundary of the light and dark universe, which was also the conclusion Nong Shimu had reached. It was just that Nong Shimu's cultivation was not high enough to enter the sacred river to investigate. The sacred river was still as calm as a mirror, without any ripples. Ningqing knew that he was standing on the opposite side of the dark heaven. Whether it was his eyes or his spiritual consciousness, he could not penetrate any further. Ningqing did not directly bring out the radiant treasure chariot. Instead, he stood on the edge of the sacred river and used his spiritual consciousness to carefully absorb the sacred river's water. Then, at an extremely fast speed, he pulled out the water from the sacred river. When he and Tang Hua crossed the sacred river's branch, the sacred river roared because he had absorbed a portion of the sacred river's water. The violent waves almost swept up Tang Hua's radiant treasure chariot. Boom! Ningqing had just absorbed a portion of the sacred river's water, when the previously calm sacred river suddenly started to churn. Terrifying waves swept out from the center of the river. Ningqing even suspected that he was not standing on the shore, but inside the radiant treasure chariot in the center of the river. When the huge waves first appeared in front of Ningqing's spiritual consciousness, they were only a few dozen feet wide. But a moment later, they grew to hundreds of feet wide. After that, the 1,000-foot wave came crashing down, directly submerging the sacred river's shore. But after this 1,000-foot wave, another 10,000-foot wave also rolled up. A terrifying aura of heaven and earth laws swept through the space around Ningqing, making it difficult for Ningqing to move. Ningqing's expression changed drastically. After casting a law-breaking spirit technique, he blasted out the Creation Divine Spear without hesitation. Crack! The Creation Divine Spear slammed into the endless violent waves, but it felt as if it had hit a solid iron shield, making a metallic clanging sound. Ningqing's Creation Divine Spear broke open a small gap, and Ningqing's figure turned into a dark law as he escaped through the gap and disappeared. Hundreds of miles away, Ningqing stopped and watched in shock as the violent waves of the sacred river receded. He still felt some fear in his heart. This sacred river was too terrifying. Even with his nearly full-circle Dao integration strength, he couldn't even absorb a portion of the water. Not only had the sacred river swept away the water he had absorbed just now, but he had also almost been swept away by the sacred river. Ningqing took in a deep breath and landed on the ground. If it were an ordinary person, they would never have been able to escape the terrifying waves of the sacred river. The waves of the sacred domain river came and went quickly. After the water Ningqing had absorbed was swept away, the waves slowly receded, and the shore gradually regained its tranquility. After an incense stick worth of time, the sacred river once again looked like a mirror, as if everything that had just happened was fake. When Ningqing returned to the edge of the sacred river, he finally understood why an expert like Nong Shimu couldn't enter the sacred river to explore. He also couldn't explore the power of the sacred river. In the final analysis, his strength was too low. Ningqing dispelled the idea of using the radiant treasure chariot to wander around the sacred river. With his current strength, it would be akin to courting death. Fortunately, he had acted on the shore. If he had acted on the radiant treasure chariot, The waves of the sacred river would have swept him into the bottom of the river along with the chariot. Ningqing felt helpless. If it was as Nong Shimu had speculated, the sacred river was the boundary of the light and dark universe. If he couldn't even get into the river, how could he find the positional plane? If he couldn't find the positional plane, how could he leave the sacred river? Did he really have to reach the third step here before he could leave? How could stepping into the third step be easy? If he were in the Chaos Realm, he would have the Chaos Jade Talisman to enter the strongest third step of Tao confirming. But how could he go to the Chaos Realm now? Moreover, according to Nong Shimu, even if he went to the Chaos Realm, he wouldn't be able to reach the strongest third step. The strongest third step was to condense one's own attribute laws and create a world. How could it be easy? Ningqing sighed. He knew that it would be too difficult for him to reach this step. It was mainly because his cultivation method and law-based spirit techniques all came from the origin attribute born from the primal chaos. He already had the primal chaos origin attribute brand on him. Even if he reincarnated, it would be difficult to remove this brand. He should leave first. Maybe there was something he needed in the Radiant Treasure House. Ningqing had just thought of this when he heard a slightly shrill voice. Did you destroy Leaf Dao Gate? Did you kill Yu Duodai? Ningqing looked up in surprise. He had been thinking about reaching the third step of Tao confirming, and hadn't noticed that someone had come near him. A few dozen feet away from him, a man in brocade robes stood. This man in brocade robes had almost no eyebrows, and his eyes were extremely bright. Tao charm flowed around him, and a powerful oppressive aura washed over him. At this time, he had already arrived a few feet away from Ningqing and stared at Ningqing coldly. Sung Leaf. Ningqing immediately knew who this person was. He had heard that Sung Leaf, who he had destroyed, was a realm-merging expert, and this man in brocade robes had a realm-merging cultivation. Chapter 14-16. That's right, this monarch is Zheng Leifu. You're just a mere Tao integration stage holy emperor. Yet you dare to destroy my cave abode? Yoshi is so old that he's so timid even when facing a little thing like you. The brocade-robed man's lips curled into a mocking smile. Ningqing raised his hand, and the good fortune spirit spear appeared in it. He could vaguely sense that this Zheng Leifu was a formidable opponent. However, he wasn't afraid at all. It wasn't as if he hadn't killed fusing realm experts before. You have some guts, daring to use a weapon in front of this lord. Zheng Leifu, on seeing Ningqing bring out the good fortune spirit spear, spoke up with even more disdain. It's just that he didn't finish his sentence. Instead, he stared at Ningqing's good fortune spirit spear. He had an intuition that Ningqing's spirit spear was something extraordinary. This was definitely not an ordinary high-grade god artifact. Ningqing was speechless as he spoke. Do you want to die? I wonder, you're such a bird. Why didn't you see your shadow when your grandfather destroyed the Leaf Dao Gate? Zheng Leifu said calmly. For the sake of your spear, I will let you be a ghost with an understanding. Because I went to look for Nong Shirua, the darkness origin orb is with her. You went after Nong Shirua. Ningqing's killing intent surged. Nong Shirua was his benefactor. If this bastard killed her, then even if he killed this fellow, he wouldn't be able to save Nong Shirua. Zheng Leifu apparently felt Ningqing's anger and asked in doubt. I didn't expect you to know Nong Shirua. Unfortunately, that old fart Nong Shimu actually looks down on me. Otherwise, Nong Shirua wouldn't be the one living in my Reifu Dao Gate. That woman is indeed very smart, so smart that even I was fooled by her. When he spat out the last word, Sen Lifu's figure had already weakened. At the same time, an axe shadow tore through the void and enveloped all the space. The deathly axe intent squeezed out all the laws of the heaven and earth, leaving behind only the space of the axe. It was actually an axe wielder. The most powerful axe intent that Ningqing had ever seen was left behind by the good fortune indestructible axe. Initially in the Jiaoliang Sea, the remnant axe line killing intent from the good fortune indestructible axe had almost killed him. That remnant axe line killing intent, he estimated that it was not even a billionth of the strongest of the good fortune indestructible axe. If Ningqing had not seen the axe intent of the indestructible axe, Then in the face of such a terrifying killing force from Sung Laifu's axe intent, other than avoiding it, he really would not dare to face it head-on. At this time, Ningqing did not have the slightest intention to retreat. Not only did he not have any intention of retreating, but his whole person took a step forward in the midst of the berserk axe intent. The berserk axe intent that filled up the entire space around Ningcheng's body was unable to tear apart Ningcheng's defensive domain. In terms of power, Sung Laifu's axe intent was many times more powerful than Jiao Lianghai's axe line. But when it came to axe intent, Sung Laifu's axe intent was much worse than that axe intent. Ningcheng was now at the peak of Dao integration. If he had to face the killing intent of other Dharma treasures, he might have avoided it. Towards the axe intent, he really did not fear it. If not for the divine spear of creation, his Dharma treasure might also be an axe. Sung Laifu's axe intent-crushing spiritual technique was only able to display half of it before it came to a stop in horror. Since his debut, no one had been able to cross the space filled with his axe intent so easily. But today, Ningqing not only managed to do it, but he also did it without leaving a single trace. His axe intent-crushing spiritual technique had only stretched out the axe intent. The crushing force had not yet formed when Ningcheng's divine spear of creation had already pierced through space. The surrounding space fractured layer by layer, and spatial dislocations began to form. Sung Laifu's pupils shrank sharply. Was this the spatial dislocation spiritual technique? A Dao integration holy emperor could actually use the spatial dislocation spiritual technique in such a stable space. Moreover, it was layer upon layer of dislocations. Just how terrifying was this? Sung Laifu was also a recognized genius of the Holy Realm, but even now, he could not do this. The void staggered apart, and the aura of the void merged with Ningcheng's spear intent, which he could not grasp at all. Encountering this kind of spatial dislocation and collapse, anything would turn into powder. Sung Laifu no longer dared to treat Ningcheng as a Dao integration holy emperor. 7 sword tokens appeared out of thin air. The 7 sword tokens tore a gap under Ningcheng's layers of fractured spatial dislocations in accordance with the Big Dipper position. Sung Laifu, like a sword shadow, broke out of this gap. A faint bloodstain was left on his back. His speed was not slow. Almost at the same time that his axe intent-crushing spiritual technique failed, he brought out the 7 sword tokens. Even so, his 2 calves were still swept away by the layers of void dislocations. Apart from a few wisps of blood mist, there was no other trace of him. Ningcheng did not continue to attack. Just now, under Sung Laifu's axe intent spiritual technique, he suddenly brought out the traceless spatial collapse. Although he had not integrated the law of darkness, Ningcheng thought that even if Sung Laifu could escape, his body would shatter. He did not expect Sung Laifu to only lose 2 calves and escape. Ningcheng did not know what kind of treasure Sung Laifu's 7 sword tokens were, but they were so powerful. After he brought out the traceless void step, he tore open a path for survival. Sung Laifu did not escape, nor did he continue to attack. A huge axe-shaped magic weapon as thin as a cicada's wing circled around him. In front of the axe-shaped magic weapon were 7 sword tokens. This time, Ningcheng saw it very clearly. These 7 sword tokens were surrounded by a mysterious Dao charm, which made people unable to see what they were made of. The 2 calves that were swept away by the traceless spatial collapse also grew back. At this moment, Sung Laifu could not see any other injuries except for his slightly pale face. "You're strong, so strong that I can't believe it. Are you really a Dao perfection holy emperor? And you seem to be very familiar with my axe intent space?" Sung Laifu's slightly shrill voice sounded even sharper at this time. Ningcheng stepped forward in the void, and the good fortune divine spear once again rolled up layers of spear traces. Sung Laifu's strength was very strong. As long as this fellow did not leave, Ningcheng still had the confidence to kill this fellow. "Wait." Sung Laifu stopped Ningcheng. "You can't kill me. I'm not your opponent right now. Even if you want to kill me, it won't be that easy." Ningcheng sneered. "Whether I can kill you or not, I'll have to fight to know. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Take this father's spear." While Ningcheng spoke, his hands didn't stop moving at all. If you say wait, then wait. Who do you think you are, Sung Laifu? After knowing Ning Cheng's strength, Sung Laifu kept his guard up against Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's spear traces swung out and instantly collided with Sung Laifu's protective Dao charm. Violent Dao auras exploded outwards. Even the calm sacred river started to ripple under the influence of this Dao aura. Sung Laifu was both shocked and angry. He never thought that someone would treat his words as farts. He originally wanted to escape, but instead he threw out 7 sword tokens. The 7 sword intents were like 7 void grand Dao, trapping Ning Cheng within it. The pressure of the space constraint kept rolling in. Seeing the brilliance of the 7 sword tokens about to close, Ning Cheng acted as if he didn't see it. Sung Laifu was overjoyed. As long as his 7 sword tokens closed, Ning Cheng would fall no matter how strong he was. But he couldn't believe it. If Ning Cheng was so simple, then he wouldn't have broken his calf before. Even now, he still had lingering fears about the power of the traceless collapse. At this time, if he wanted to leave, he believed that he could still escape. But he really didn't want to let go of such a good opportunity. Just when the 7 sword tokens' brilliance was about to close, Ning Cheng suddenly took a step into the void and raised his hand. None to depend on spirit technique. None to depend on, yellow sand rises. Thin horse on the west wind ancient road, long dependence, tears-stained clothes, an inexplicable concept of sorrow rolled up out of thin air, and Sung Laifu suddenly fell into this concept. But in less than a breath, Sung Laifu sobered up from this concept. Sung Laifu, who was ready to escape at any time, suddenly felt excited. He finally understood Ning Cheng's intentions. Ning Cheng wanted to use this concept spirit technique to bind him for a short time, and then use the void collapse spirit technique to kill him. The other party must have thought that he missed Duodai very much, which was why he used this concept spirit technique. The other party didn't know that he didn't miss Duodai at all. In his Dao, there was only himself, and everything else was illusory. Maybe if this concept spirit technique went up by 2 levels, it could affect him. But for now it was still a long way off. Sung Laifu gave a long roar, and the giant axe as thin as a cicada's wing suddenly disappeared. Then, a slaughtering axe intent shot out from the 9 netherworlds. This slaughtering axe intent didn't bind space. Instead, it bound everything in front of the axe intent. This was his axe intent spirit technique, waist chop. There was only one purpose for this divine ability, and that was to cut them in half. The axe's edge moved in the direction of waist chop. In the face of waist chop, the opponent would only end up in one place. With the 7 kill sword tokens closed and the waist chop activated, he didn't believe that Ning Cheng had 3 heads and 6 arms. Ning Cheng had never pinned his hopes on the none to depend on spirit technique to bind Sung Laifu. He knew that Sung Laifu's 7 sword tokens were meant to guard against his traceless collapse. Therefore, he didn't plan to continue using traceless collapse. At the same time as he brought out the none to depend on spirit technique, Ning Cheng raised his hand and pointed out a finger. Law-breaking finger. The law-breaking finger could destroy everything, not to mention the law-breaking finger fused with the laws of darkness. This was Ning Cheng's real killing move. After using the law-breaking finger, the laws of heaven and earth in the surrounding space began to shatter. Between these shattered laws of heaven and earth, a darkness that could devour everything swept out. No, this was the strongest darkness law spirit technique. After Sung Laifu brought out the waist chop, he felt the all-devouring dark aura. Sung Laifu felt horrified. He could indeed cut Ning Cheng at the waist. But similarly, Ning Cheng's darkness law spirit technique could also sweep away his corporeal body and spiritual soul. Catcha. The 7 kill sword token's slaughter aura weakened, and the law shattered. Even his cicada's wing-thin giant axe slowed down. Sung Laifu no longer wanted to cut Ning Cheng at the waist. The 7 sword tokens rolled up a void passage. As soon as the void passage appeared, he stepped into it. Just like his killing move wasn't the 7 sword tokens, but the waist chop. Ning Cheng's killing move wasn't the concept spirit technique, nor was it the darkness law spirit technique. Instead, it was the finger that could shatter the laws of heaven and earth. This person was not only insidious but also ruthless. Whether it was towards his enemies or himself, he was ruthless. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.